Chapter 890. Hichu Luoshu once again turned into a speck of dust and attached itself to the ground. Even heavenly venerable realm experts wouldn't be able to see it. In the Hichu Luoshu world, Su Hao's entire body was about to shatter. He gritted his teeth and sat down cross-legged. The tree of life in his body started to tremble crazily, emitting waves of life force that were like stormy waves. It started to crazily wash Morong Yu's body. After a round of washing, Morong Yu's physical injuries healed a little. Although it wasn't completely healed yet, it was finally no longer dangerous. At this point, Morong Yu finally thought of the previous scene and couldn't help but grit his teeth. It only took a few moments for Hichu Luoshu to appear and collect the Poison Dragon King. However, there were quite a few celestial venerable powerhouses present. These super powerhouses reacted extremely quickly and discovered Hichu and Luoshu at the first moment. Although they didn't know who Morong Yu was and what kind of treasure it was. But out of instinct they all attacked. It was their strongest attack right from the start. The terrifying power even shattered the void. If all the attacks landed on Hichu Luoshu might be fine. But Morong Yu would definitely be reduced to dust. Fortunately, Morong Yu's reaction speed wasn't slow either. After collecting the Poison Dragon King, he immediately tore through the void and wanted to teleport out. But even so, a portion of the attacks still landed on Hichu Luoshu. Less than 1%. However, this less than 1% attack was still a super attack from many heavenly venerables. After Hichu Luoshu removed most of the power, it still almost shattered Morong Yu's body into dust. Fortunately, Morong Yu's body had already reached the level of a middle-grade divine artifact previously. Otherwise, his soul would probably have been shattered by now. The strength of an Empyrean is too terrifying. He could probably shatter a high-grade divine artifact with a single slap, right? Morong Yu thought with lingering fear. Although most of the bodies of deities were not even at the level of a low-grade divine artifact. However, the strength of a deity was extremely terrifying. It was possible for them to shatter a divine artifact. Of course, this referred to powerful super experts. Ordinary deities couldn't even shatter a low-grade divine artifact. Half a day later, under the heaven-defying recovery ability of the life force, Morong Yu's injuries had all healed to the peak. If not for the power of life, Morong Yu's shattered body would have taken a long time to recover to its peak. With a flash, Morong Yu disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already near the Poison Dragon King's corpse. Hichu, this should be the corpse of the Poison Dragon King, right? After appearing, Morong Yu quickly asked. Hichu nodded his head. This is indeed the corpse of the Poison Dragon King. However, the Poison Dragon King died from exhausting his lifespan. The strength in his body was also completely exhausted. Precisely so, the current him doesn't have any pressure at all. All of his strength was exhausted. Morong Yu's brows furrowed slightly. Although the Poison Dragon King without strength was still a treasure, it was already several levels lower than him. However, she was already several levels below him. Even Morong Yu looked down on her. After all, dragon meat that did not contain strength was actually no different from ordinary wild beast meat. It had no value. The Poison Dragon King should have burned all of his strength to be able to live until now. However, although the dragon meat already doesn't have any strength, it also doesn't contain any poison. The Poison Dragon King's former realm was at least Empyrean realm. Even if the dragon meat doesn't contain strength, it's still much better than dragon beast meat. Perfect for people who haven't become a deity to eat, helping them condense their divine spark and body. A hint of light flashed across Morong Yu's eyes. How could I forget about this? Oh right, the Poison Dragon King should still have divine dragon blood essence on him, right? Was his divine spark destroyed? Only 10 drops of blood essence. The Poison Dragon King's divine spark is full of strength. There's no damage at all. I don't know what's going on, Hichu said somewhat puzzled. At the same time, he handed a jade bottle and the Poison Dragon King's divine spark to Murong Yu. The Poison Dragon King's divine spark appeared blue and emitted a faint blue halo. This was a highly toxic divine spark. A poison attribute divine spark. Murong Yu looked at the highly toxic divine spark in his hand, and his face changed slightly. However, he was not afraid of anything, because as long as he did not take the initiative to absorb the power of the divine spark, even the highly toxic divine spark would not poison him to death. However, this was the Poison Dragon King's divine spark. Who dared to absorb the power of the divine spark? A hint of pity flashed across Murong Yu's face. This divine spark might contain the Poison Dragon King's inheritance and incomparably enormous power. It was a pity that he could not absorb it. Other than the 10 drops of blood essence and the divine spark, Murong Yu was not interested in the other things of the Poison Dragon King. Although the Poison Dragon King definitely had countless treasures, but those treasures would definitely not be with him. At this time, it would have been divided up by others. I'll find a chance to return to the Yen Huang immortal world and distribute the dragon meat so that they can condense their divine spark and divine body. Murong Yu thought in his heart and came in front of the dragon egg. Ever since it absorbed the drop of divine dragon blood essence, the dragon egg had fallen into a deep sleep. Murong Yu came to take a look a few times. Vaguely, he felt that the dragon egg's aura was constantly growing stronger. Perhaps the dragon egg was about to be born. Or perhaps it was transforming into a true mystical dragon. Little guy, a drop of divine dragon blood essence is obviously unable to let you truly transform. I'll add another drop of divine dragon blood essence for you. Transform into a true mystical dragon as soon as possible and roam the world. As he spoke, Murong Yu poured out a drop of Poison Dragon King's blood essence from the jade bottle. Pa! The Poison Dragon King's essence blood dripped onto the pure white dragon egg, and then it instantly disappeared. It must have been swallowed by the little dragon. Wung. After swallowing the drop of divine dragon blood essence, the dragon egg started to tremble slightly. It was unknown whether it was excited or grateful to Murong Yu. Little guy, transform well. Murong Yu patted the dragon egg and was about to leave. Kacha. However, at this time, the huge dragon egg actually cracked. This made Murong Yu suspect that he had smashed the dragon egg with a slap. Under Murong Yu's astonished gaze, the dragon egg began to rapidly shatter. In a few breaths' time, the entire huge dragon egg shattered into thousands of pieces. Then, a little golden snake walked out of the dragon egg leisurely. It shook its head and looked dizzy. Murong Yu was speechless. The dragon egg was very big. A few Murong Yu added together could not wrap their arms around it. Originally, he thought that the little dragon would at least be the size of a calf when it was born. But now this little snake was really too small. It was only about half a meter long. After walking a few steps, the little golden snake stopped and stared at Murong Yu for a long time. At first, there was confusion in its eyes. In the end, it turned into a sense of familiarity. Just as Murong Yu was guessing what it was going to do, the little golden snake suddenly turned around and picked up a piece of dragon egg shell with its mouth. It began to chew on it. Could it be that these eggshells are nutritious? Murong Yu looked at the little snake happily eating the eggshells, and at the same time, it continued to grow. After half a day, the little golden snake had finished eating all the eggshells. At this time, its body had also reached a length of 10 feet and half a meter in size. It had already begun to take the shape of a divine dragon. It was indeed a divine dragon, and not a dragon beast. Murong Yu could guarantee this. After all, he had seen the Black Dragon and the Poison Dragon King, these two real dragons. Roar! The golden dragon let out an earth-shattering dragon roar. Then, with a shake of its body, it suddenly soared into the air and pounced towards Murong Yu. Although the golden dragon was a dragon, it had not become a god. It was only in the quasi-god realm. Murong Yu stretched out a big hand and held it down. Once this big guy pounced with Murong Yu's body, he would be knocked down by it. Little guy, hurry up and cultivate. With your strength and your bloodline, once you are discovered, you will be eaten. Murong Yu patted the golden dragon's head and said with a smile. A hint of fear flashed in the golden dragon's eyes. Whether it was the descendant of a dragon beast or had merged with the divine dragon's blood essence, it had become a real divine dragon. There were all kinds of inherited memories in its memory. There were memories related to the dragon beast, the poison dragon king, and the drop of green dragon's blood essence that Murong Yu had obtained when he cut open the god stone. These memories combined together gave the newly born golden dragon a lot of understanding of this world. It could be said that its mentality had matured when it obtained those inherited memories. Roar, roar, roar. The golden dragon looked at Murong Yu and kept nodding, with a hint of anticipation in its eyes. You still want the blood essence? Murong Yu asked. This time, he understood the golden dragon's meaning. The golden dragon kept nodding, with a look of joy in its eyes. You little guy, aren't you afraid of being stuffed to death? Murong Yu smiled. With a flip of his hand, he took out the bottle of Poison Dragon King's blood essence and godhead. Swish. Before Murong Yu could do anything, the golden dragon's head swayed. Immediately, the Poison Dragon King's godhead of poison was swallowed by it. Murong Yu turned pale with fright. Little guy, hurry up and spit out the godhead. It contains a deadly poison. You will be poisoned to death. It wasn't that Murong Yu was unwilling to give the golden dragon the godhead and blood essence. The blood essence didn't matter. In any case, Murong Yu didn't plan to let his family and friends temper their bodies. It didn't matter if he gave it all to the golden dragon. As for the godhead of poison, it didn't matter if Murong Yu gave it to the golden dragon. However, the godhead contained a deadly poison. With the golden dragon's strength, it would be poisoned to death in an instant. Murong Yu didn't want the divine dragon that he had painstakingly cultivated to be poisoned to death before becoming a god. Chapter 891. I'm fine. I'm going to sleep for a while. An unfamiliar spiritual wave came over. At the same time, the golden dragon's body fell to the ground with a plop and fell into a deep sleep. Murong Yu had a helpless expression on his face. Although the golden dragon said it was fine, Murong Yu was not at ease. He was still watching from the side and his life force was ready. Once he found the golden dragon attacked by the poison, he would help immediately. However, Murong Yu found it strange that the golden dragon was not attacked by the poison. On the contrary, Murong Yu felt that the golden dragon's aura was rapidly growing stronger. Could it be that he is fusing with the Poison Dragon King's godhood? Murong Yu frowned. If the golden dragon could fuse with the Poison Dragon King's poison godhood, it would definitely be a good thing. However, although the Poison Dragon King was an expert in the heavenly venerate realm, he was even stronger than that. However, was the heavenly venerate realm really the top existence? What if there was an existence at an even higher level? If that was the case, once the golden dragon fused with the Poison Dragon King's godhood, he would at most be at the pinnacle of the Poison Dragon King realm and would never be able to improve. Forget it. Perhaps the heavenly venerate realm is the strongest realm. Even if it isn't, this is the golden dragon's own choice. Murong Yu sighed and continued to guard the golden dragon. However, after a few days, the golden dragon showed no signs of being attacked by the poison. In the end, Murong Yu felt relieved and left the place. In a flash, Murong Yu's figure disappeared from where he stood. Yen Huang Immortal Realm, Nanling. At this moment, Nanling had become the holy land of cultivation in the Yen Huang Immortal Realm and was no longer a forbidden place. This was because the Immortal Realm had long been unified by Murong Yu. Chaos Shengzhen had also become the strongest sect in the entire Immortal Realm and ruled the entire Immortal Realm. However, although Chaos Shenzhen ruled the entire Yan Huang immortal realm and the 36 immortal realms, however, Shenzhen did not destroy the orthodoxies of the other sects, except for the Devil sect, the Immortal Palace, and the Heavenly Punishing Palace. As for the other sects, they were thriving. In truth, to Murong Yu, the master of the immortal realm, whether it was the 36 immortal realms or the Yan Huang immortal realm, all humans and demons were his subjects. Shenzhen, on the other hand, was like a dynasty in the secular world, ruling over this land. Meanwhile, under the dynasty there were hundreds of schools of thought contending. However, Shenzhen didn't destroy the other sections. Instead, he recruited talented disciples from all over the world. These people would be Murong Yu's capital to sweep through the divine realm in the future. Because of the strength of Shenzhen and the enormous resources of Shenzhen, as well as various cultivation techniques, countless people in the immortal world wanted to join Shenzhen. However, Shenzhen's recruitment of disciples was very strict, and the threshold was very high. This was the first day that Shenzhen publicly recruited disciples from all over the immortal world. Outside the Nanling Mountains, countless experts from all over the immortal world had gathered. The crowd was like a sea. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky. Following which, a youth in black stepped out of the crack, heading towards the depths of Shenzhen. "How dare you!" Seeing this youth in black charge into the depths of Shenzhen, some of Shenzhen's disciples immediately roared and leaped into the air to stop the youth. The Nanling Mountains was a no-fly zone that prohibited high-altitude flight. Even Shenzhen's disciples could only fly below 100 zhang in the air. And this young man was clearly many times higher than the height of 1,000 feet in the air. "I am Murong Yu, Holy Lord of Shenzhen." The youth in black, who was Murong Yu, stood up and looked calmly at the disciples who had stopped him. They were all immortal kings. Murong Yu nodded. Shenzhen's development had exceeded his expectations. There weren't many experts with low cultivation levels. There were many immortal kings, immortal lords, and so on. With a sweep of his divine perception, there were many quasi-gods as well. It seemed that Shenzhen's development in the past few decades had been faster than he'd expected. "How dare you? How dare you impersonate our Holy Lord? Didn't anyone tell you that our Holy Lord had long ascended to godhood?" The leader of the immortal kings shouted at Murong Yu. When Murong Yu's name was mentioned, he and the others had looks of worship on their faces. Murong Yu was a godlike existence to them. No, Murong Yu was a god. These guys, Murong Yu was speechless. He was standing in front of these people, but they were treating him like an imposter. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure came from the depths of Shenzhen at an extremely fast speed. Then, before Murong Yu could react, he was hugged tightly by the neck. Murong Yu was shocked. Although his cultivation level had been suppressed to the quasi-god realm, he was still a peak heavenly god realm expert. Whether it was his divine perception, his reaction, or his ability to sense danger, they were all extremely terrifying. But now, he couldn't dodge at all. It could even be said that he didn't see clearly who it was. The other party's speed surprised him. "Big brother, you're finally back. Little Z missed you so much." While Murong Yu was still in shock, a familiar voice sounded. Murong Yu looked down. The person hugging his neck was none other than Little Z. Little Z still had the same body shape and was still like a mortal without any cultivation level or power fluctuation. But Murong Yu didn't dare to underestimate her. Murong Yu had already seen Little Z's speed just now. He couldn't react at all. One could imagine how terrifying Little Z's speed was. And Murong Yu was even more curious about Little Z's origin. "How dare you, Humph? You even dare to stop Brother Holy Lord? You must be blind." Little Z kissed Murong Yu's face a few times and smeared her saliva all over Murong Yu's face. Then, she turned her head and scolded the disciples of Shenzhen. Whoosh! The faces of these immortal kings instantly turned pale. Finally, with a plop, they knelt in front of Murong Yu, their bodies trembling and their faces full of fear. They might not know Murong Yu, But they definitely didn't dare to say that they didn't know little Z, Shenzhen's little princess who never grew up. And they didn't suspect that little Z would lie to them. Since little Z said that Morong Yu was the Holy Lord, then Morong Yu was definitely the Holy Lord, their ancestor, the founder of Shenzhen, the Lord of the Immortal Realm. Little Z, don't scare them. Morong Yu glared at little Z. Then, he looked at the human immortal kings and waved his hand. A strong force immediately lifted them up and said, "You are also loyal to your duty. Shenzhen needs people like you. Since that's the case, I'll just give you a good fortune." As he spoke, Morong Yu waved his hand and immediately transferred some of his comprehension and experience into their memories. Then, he took a step forward with little Z and disappeared on the spot. "Thank you, Holy Lord." The human immortal kings were stunned at first. Then, they saw the memories in their minds. Suddenly, they were excited. Even though Morong Yu had left, they knelt down in the void and kowtowed 3 times in the direction that Morong Yu had left. This time, there was no fear, only infinite gratitude. Morong Yu didn't know that this unintentional action had already given Shenzhen a few powerful and loyal disciples. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. After Morong Yu entered the depths of Shenzhen, many experts in Shenzhen had already known that Morong Yu had returned. Immediately, those who were qualified to come all rushed over at the first moment. Zhao Jiqing and her 2 daughters, Morong Xian and other Morong Yu's 4 children, Zhang Ao, Duanmu Qing and other core higher-ups of Shenzhen, Li Feng and other Morong Yu's relatives and friends, all came over. Looking at the familiar faces, Morong Yu's heart was filled with excitement. These people were all his family members. A large part of Morong Yu's struggle was because of them. "Father, you're finally back? What's your realm? What's the realm of the gods like? Have you already trampled the realm of the gods and become the master of the realm of the gods?" Morong Yu's youngest son, Morong Yi, who was the 4th son, couldn't help but burst out a series of questions when he saw Morong Yu. "4th brother, father just came back, put away your questions first." As the eldest brother, Morong Xian was more mature. He immediately glared at Morong Yi. "Aren't I just excited?" Morong Yi rolled his eyes, but didn't continue asking questions. However, he still couldn't hide his excitement. Morong Yu smiled. "I think everyone is very interested in the realm of the gods. Since that's the case, I'll first briefly explain the realm of the gods to everyone." Looking at everyone's expectant faces, Morong Yu knew that if he didn't explain it clearly, they definitely wouldn't give up. Thus, Morong Yu gave a brief account of his experiences in the god realm and the past few years. After that, everyone fell silent, because the realm of the gods was even more cruel than the immortal realm. Those who weren't strong would have a hard time establishing themselves in the realm of the gods. Especially the tribulation of the gods, it made them tremble with fear. In fact, as immortals, they had to go through the tribulation of the gods before they could ascend to the realm of the gods. After ascending to the realm of the gods, they had to go through the tribulation of the gods after condensing the divine body and Godhead. If they couldn't pass the tribulation, they could only turn into ashes in the tribulation lightning. However, the Godhead of the immortal realm and the God tribulation pill, there was no possibility of failure. However, some of them didn't have confidence in going to the realm of the gods. I know what everyone is worried about. However, the path of cultivation can only go against the heavens. If you break through, your strength will become stronger and you will have a longer lifespan. Whether you can break through or not depends on you. Of course, I came back today to help you. Seeing that everyone was silent, Morong Yu could only encourage them. Chapter 892. A month later, Morong Yu left the Yen Huang immortal realm and returned to the immortal realm. In this month, Morong Yu sealed the corpse of the poison dragon king in the Shenzhen of the immortal realm. He treated it as the sect treasure of the Shenzhen. In truth, the poison dragon king was an existence that was even stronger than ordinary heavenly masters. It was natural that he would become the sect treasurer of the Shenzhen. At the same time, Morong Yu did not leave the corpse of the dragon beast for the Shenzhen. He buried it deep in the Shenzhen. One reason was that the aura of the dragon beast corpse was too strong. With the strength of the Shenzhen and the others, they could not eat the dragon beast meat at all. More importantly, this dragon beast was the mother of the golden dragon. The golden dragon was now considered one of Morong Yu's people. If he ate his mother's meat, Morong Yu would not do such a thing. In this process, Morong Yu saw that many people in the Shenzhen had started to condense their godhoods and bodies because of the dragon meat. Among them, Morong Yu's 2 sons and 2 daughters had the most terrifying aptitude. The speed of condensing godhoods and bodies was the fastest. Of course, it was far from Morong Yu's. But the dragon meat contained some power and essence. It was better than simply absorbing the essence of God in the immortal realm. At least, it was better than the essence of God that Morong Yu had absorbed in the Ghost Region's Ghost Village. It was very beneficial for condensing godhoods and bodies. However, Morong Yu also knew that their stage was no longer the immortal realm. It should be the immortal realm. Therefore, he was eager to return to the immortal realm. He was prepared to establish a place in the immortal realm and bring everyone up. In the end, he rejected their request to follow him to the immortal realm and returned to the Tiandao sect alone. It was inevitable that Morong Yu would establish the Shenzhen in the immortal realm. And his ideal place was the supercontinents like the primitive continent and the wasteland continent. This was because the divine essence energy in these continents was much denser. However, Morong Yu's enemies were everywhere, and the entire world was his enemy. Once he showed himself, not only would he be hunted down, but his forces would also be uprooted. Taking a step back, the dream wilderness was still acceptable. However, with Morong Yu's current strength, he was unable to subdue the Tiandao sect. It can only be in the primordial wilderness. Morong Yu felt somewhat helpless. With his current strength, he should be able to establish a Shenzhen on the primordial continent and temporarily settle everyone there. Although the experts that appeared in the primordial continent were only at the peak of true god level at most. However, if an expert at the peak of the true god realm appeared in Shenzhen, with Morong Yu's speed of improvement, he should be able to sweep away the Tiandao sect. Whoosh! Hichu Luoshu directly teleported to the sky above his courtyard in the natural law school. Then Morong Yu stepped out of the void and landed in the courtyard. Whoosh! 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 As soon as Morong Yu appeared, 3 silhouettes rushed out. In an instant, Morong Yu was locked on by 3 divine senses. It's me. Morong Yu felt somewhat helpless. Why was he treated as an enemy every time he returned to his own place? It's really you? Didn't you say that you were killed in the toxic continent? Seeing Morong Yu, Fan Tong and the other 2 looked at him in disbelief, as if they had seen a ghost. Fan Tong walked up. Not only did he look at Morong Yu, but he also stretched out his hand and patted Morong Yu's body. It seemed like he wanted to confirm if it was real. Morong Yu angrily slapped Fan Tong and sent him flying. Then, he stepped into the house and said, "Let's talk inside. Peak of the heavenly god realm. Brother, your realm is finally higher than mine." After being slapped by Morong Yu, Fan Tong learned a helpless fact. Morong Yu was stronger than him. Glancing at the 3 people, Morong Yu saw that they were just shocked and didn't have any other abnormalities. Then, he let out a sigh of relief and asked, "How are things these days? What's the reaction of the natural law sect?" Morong Yu was talking about the attitude of the natural law sect towards what he had done in the toxic continent. There's no news from the higher-ups of the natural law sect, but those idiots of the Heavenly Alliance and the Earth Alliance were scared. However, no one came to find trouble with the natural law sect. Fan Tong said with some disdain and sneer. He was disdainful of those people of the Heavenly Alliance and the Earth Alliance. After the news of Morong Yu spread, those guys united to remove Morong Yu from the natural law sect. They directly deprived Morong Yu of his identity as a disciple of the natural law sect. Obviously, they were worried that other experts and forces would come to find trouble with Morong Yu, and they were afraid that they would be implicated. However, the forces behind those people who were killed by Morong Yu didn't come to find trouble, at least for now. This made Morong Yu feel a little strange. Even if he was really dead, those people who were killed by him would never let go of the natural law sect behind him. Morong Yu wouldn't be so naive to think that those forces didn't know that he was a disciple of the natural law sect. Then, there were only two possibilities now. One was that they knew that Morong Yu was dead and didn't seek revenge on the natural law sect. The other was that for some unknown reason, they didn't do anything. Morong Yu was more inclined to the latter reason. Brother, since you're back, then just kill those idiots from the Heaven Alliance and the Earth Alliance and take control of the natural law sect. Fan Tong said unhappily. If he was Morong Yu, he would have killed the Heaven Alliance and the Earth Alliance long ago. Morong Yu shook his head. It's not suitable for me to be exposed now. Once I'm exposed, the people of the natural law sect will definitely take action against me. I'm not afraid of them, but once I appear, those people who were killed by me will definitely come to kill me. At that time, countless innocent disciples of the natural law sect will be implicated because of me. Then what are you going to do now? Fan Tong rolled his eyes and stopped encouraging Morong Yu to destroy the Heaven Alliance and the Earth Alliance. Go back to the Yuan Huang continent. What? Go back to the Yuan Huang continent? Brother, you're not scared, are you? Fan Tong's jaw dropped to the ground, his face full of disbelief. Yang Yun and Ling Ling also looked at Morong Yu in surprise. If I was alone, of course I wouldn't be afraid. Otherwise, I wouldn't have killed so many people. However, you all know that I ascended from the Yen Huang immortal realm. I still have many people in the immortal realm. I have to find a place to settle them down in the immortal realm. And now the best place is the Yuan Huang continent. Morong Yu explained. Then let's go to the Yuan Huang continent. I guarantee that no one will dare to touch you. The Yuan Huang continent has too little god origin energy. It's not suitable for cultivation. Fan Tong patted his chest and guaranteed. I'll definitely go to the Yuan Huang continent in the future, but now is not the time. Let's leave the natural law sect now. While speaking, Morong Yu's expression changed, and he changed into another person. Although he didn't have the superb disguise technique like Old Man Pei, ordinary people wouldn't be able to recognize him. Immediately, the four of them left the natural law sect and used the teleportation formation to teleport back to the Yuan Huang continent. With Morong Yu's strength at the pinnacle of the heavenly god realm, he was qualified to use the teleportation formation. However, he still used 2 low-grade god meridians. The price was extraordinarily high. At this moment, Morong Yu finally understood why so many people came from the Yuan Huang continent, but no one returned. How could anyone have 2 god meridians? Even if they had god meridians, they wouldn't want to waste them. They would rather use them for cultivation. The Yuan Qi of heaven and earth in the Yuan Huang continent could only produce experts at the pinnacle of the true god realm. It was impossible for him to cultivate to a higher realm here. Therefore, even if there were heavenly god realm ancestors in the Yuan Huang continent, there were only a few of them. After Morong Yu and the others returned to the Yuan Huang continent, they went straight to the Ascension City. Linghu Changtian had been killed by Morong Yu, so the Ascension City had changed hands. It was now under the control of someone called Lin Sr. Tell that Lin Sin to get out here. When Morong Yu and the others appeared in front of the city governor's mansion, Fan Tong shouted at the guards. How dare you call the city governor by his name? The guards who were only in the true god realm were enraged. They rushed toward Morong Yu and the others. These bastards, are they blind? Seeing that a few true gods dared to attack him, who was in the heavenly god realm, Fan Tong's lungs were about to explode. Immediately, he released his powerful aura, enveloping the entire Ascension City in an instant. Plop, plop, plop. In less than a breath's time, the entire Ascension City, except for Morong Yu and the others, was suppressed to the ground. All of them looked panicked and terrified. The city governor's guards were so scared that their faces turned pale. An aura of death shrouded their hearts. Lin Sen, if you don't come out, I'll destroy the entire Ascension City. Fan Tong retracted his aura, but his voice was heard. Sir, please calm down, please calm down. Before he could finish his sentence, a middle-aged man flew out quickly, looking terrified. You're the city governor of Ascension City? Fan Tong looked at Lin Sen, who was in the peak of real God, with a gloomy face. Yes, sir, Lin Sen bowed respectfully. He didn't even have the courage to look up. From now on, you're no longer the city governor of Ascension City. Now, my brother will take over your position as the city governor of Ascension City. Do you have any objections? Sir, I have no objections, Lin Sen lowered his head. However, he was cursing in his heart. Even if he had objections, he wouldn't dare to voice them out. The aura of the 4 death gods was strong. Every one of them was stronger than him. They were existences that could kill him with one hand. If that's the case, then get lost. Don't appear near Ascension City in the future. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Do you hear me? Yes, sir. I'll leave Ascension City immediately. Lin Sen replied respectfully. Then, he soared into the sky like a hoodlum and escaped out of Ascension City. Chapter 893. Primordial Wilderness Continent, Ascension City. It was called Ascension City because there were 3 ascension platforms from the immortal realm here. However, other than the Yen Huang immortal realm, no one would ascend from the other 2 ascension platforms. This was because those who had ascended from the 2 immortal realms had been taken to other continent. Only the Yen Huang immortal realm had declined, and no one had ascended here. Morong Yu had chosen this place because he did not need to build a teleportation design. After driving out Lin Sen, the city lord of Ascension City, Morong Yu had taken control of Ascension City. Pinnacle Heavenly God's strength was already the top expert of the primordial wilderness continent. Even though no one in Ascension City was willing, they all submitted to Morong Yu's absolute power. After taking control of Ascension City, Morong Yu returned to the Yen Huang immortal realm once more. Next, the quasi-gods of Shenzhen who had undergone their tribulations began to ascend together. Within Ascension City, the ascension platform corresponding to the Yen Huang immortal realm flashed with divine light, and figures appeared one after another. In a short time, more than 10,000 people had appeared on the ascension platform. And this was just the beginning. How many quasi-gods were there in Shenzhen who had undergone their tribulations? There were definitely hundreds of thousands. What's going on? Why are there so many people ascending from the Yen Huang immortal realm? Other than one person who ascended a few decades ago, it has been many years since anyone has ascended. When they saw this scene, the people who were the most shocked were none other than those from Ascension City. In a short time, countless people rushed to the ascension platform to watch. In the divine realm, it was almost impossible for a large number of people to ascend in a group like this. Morong Yu, right? Isn't our current city lord called Morong Yu? You must have heard of the person who ascended a few decades ago? I think he's also called Morong Yu. I've seen him before. He's the same person as the current city lord. Back then, he hadn't even reached the immortal realm. In just a few decades, he's already reached the heavenly god realm? Even City Lord Lin Sen ran away with his tail between his legs after seeing him. How is this possible? No one would believe that he had advanced from the quasi-god stage to the heavenly god stage in just a few decades. Therefore, no one believed that Morong Yu was the quasi-god who had ascended decades ago. Even if someone saw it, they wouldn't believe it. However, they knew that the current city lord had a close relationship with the Yen Huang immortal realm. This is the god realm? The spiritual energy here was indeed much denser than in the immortal world. What's depressing is that I can't fly here. Murong Yu's fourth son, Murong Yi, walked down the ascension stage. He first felt the dense god Yuan Qi in the god realm before he said with a depressed expression, "I heard that only those who have reached the real god realm can fly." Li Ling walked over and said nonchalantly, "A true god." Murong Yi rolled his eyes, feeling a little gloomy. "I wonder if Little Purple can fly here?" Little E, what did you say?" Before Murong Yi's voice fell, a young voice sounded in his ear. Little Purple's expression changed slightly, and then she smiled and turned to look at the boy next to her. "I was just asking if Auntie Little Purple can fly here?" Murong Yi was very depressed. In front of Murong Yu, Zhao Jiqing and the others, Little Purple was a little girl who couldn't grow up. But in front of Murong Yi and the rest of the younger generation, she was like a senior. She had to force Murong Yi and the others to call her auntie. In the beginning, Murong Yi and the others were naturally unwilling, although Little Purple was much older than them. However, Little Purple still looked like a child. Wouldn't it be embarrassing for them to call her auntie? But there was no other way. Even if they had reached the quasi-god realm, they were still no match for Little Purple. "Isn't it just flying?" Little Purple smiled proudly, and then stepped into the air and went straight to the vault of heaven. This was a big blow to the people of Shenzhen who saw this scene. Even Murong Yu was surprised. In less than a day, almost 1,000,000 experts of Shenzhen who had passed the divine tribulation had all ascended to the god realm and were finally settled in the Ascension City. However, these people had ascended, but Murong Yu's hands were clean, and he didn't provide any resources. This couldn't be helped. Murong Yu didn't have any resources at all, and he didn't even have some pills. However, the god realm's divine Yuan Qi was much richer than the immortal Qi in the immortal realm. For these people who had just ascended, just absorbing the powerful divine Yuan Qi between heaven and earth was enough for them to cultivate. "Should we go and rob a few sects?" Murong Yu sat in the main hall of the city lord's mansion, frowning slightly. "Murong Yu, get the hell out here!" Just as Murong Yu was thinking about whether to rob the sects, an angry roar came from outside the Ascension City. "They're here to deliver the resources?" Murong Yu didn't get angry, and instead, he stepped out and appeared outside the Ascension City. At the same time, Fan Tong, Yang Yun and Ling Ling also arrived. "Damn it, it's actually that bastard Lin Senator. If I had known, I would have killed him back then." When he saw that the person shouting outside was the former Ascension City's City Lord Lin Sun, Fan Tong couldn't help but be filled with killing intent. "If I had killed him back then, who would send me the resources? You also know that I'm poor now, and now they're sending resources. They're all good people." Murong Yu laughed, because he saw that there were more than 10 experts other than Lin Senator among them. There was no lack of heavenly god realm ancestors. The heavenly gods of the primordial continent were definitely the ancestor-level existences of every faction. If he were to take all of them down, hearing that, Fan Tong, Yang Yun and Ling Ling were stunned at first, then they came to their senses. "Brother, I just realized that you're really shameless." Fan Tong patted Murong Yu's shoulder, but a thought flashed through his mind. Seeing that Murong Yu and Fan Tong only cared about themselves and completely ignored them, Lin Sun and the others were about to explode from anger. "Kid, leave the primordial continent immediately, or this will be your burial ground." Lin Sun didn't say anything. Instead, a heavenly god realm expert took a few steps forward and said to Murong Yu with a cold smile. Murong Yu glanced at these people indifferently, and his expression didn't change at all. "You should be the ancestor-level figures of the various factions in the primordial continent, right? I'm very curious, what did Lin Sun use to move you? Why did he ask you to take action?" Murong Yu was indeed curious. Although these old fellows were the ancestors of various factions, they definitely wouldn't take action if there weren't enough benefits. However, Murong Yu really couldn't figure out what Lin Sun had that could move these people. Ancestors, kill the 4 of them. 100 million low-grade divine crystals, not one less. On the contrary, I'll pay an extra 1 million low-grade divine crystals each. At this moment, Lin Sun said impatiently. Divine crystals? Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a divine light. You're saying that Lin Sun paid 100 million low-grade divine crystals to each of your factions? Lin Sun, how did you get so many divine crystals? In the primordial continent, 100 million low-grade divine crystals was enough to move an ancestor of a large faction. Moreover, it was definitely a huge sum. At a glance, there were at least a dozen ancestor-level existences here. In other words, Lin Sun had to spend at least 1 billion low-grade divine crystals to move them. 1 billion low-grade divine crystals was definitely not a small sum, even in the Tian Dao sect. One must know that the outer sect disciples of the Tian Dao sect only received 10 low-grade divine crystals every month. Did this guy find a divine crystal mine? Murong Yu glanced at Fan Tong and realized that his eyes were already shining. Lin Sun looked at Murong Yu with disdain and ignored him. He just said indifferently, "Everyone, what are you waiting for? Otherwise, I'll regret it later." Rumble. Before Lin Sun's voice died away, a mid-heavenly god-level ancestor impatiently took action. He turned into a streak of light and shot toward Murong Yu like a meteor. Along the way, he ruthlessly threw a punch at Murong Yu. "Brother, I'll leave him to you." Fan Tong was a little tempted to give it a try. However, when he thought about how pitiful he was, he gave up the idea. Now, other than Murong Yu, the 3 of them were only at the early heavenly god level. If they wanted to fight with their lives on the line, Fan Tong could naturally kill them. However, that would waste too much time. Murong Yu nodded slightly. He took a step forward and slowly threw out a punch. "Brat, you don't know what's good for you," the attacking ancestor sneered. His fist suddenly sped up and slammed onto Murong Yu's fist. Bang! Crack! The fists of the 2 sides collided violently halfway through their journey. Then, there was the sound of bones breaking. The great ancestor's fist shattered the moment it collided with the great ancestor's fist. The terrifying power followed his fist and quickly strangled his arm. Crack, crack! Before he could react, his entire arm had already been shattered into a pile of mush. "Who's the one who overestimated himself?" Murong Yu said indifferently. He took a step forward and threw out a punch. It directly hit the opposing ancestor's chest. With a bang, the ancestor's chest was blasted open. At the same time, Murong Yu turned his fist into a claw and grabbed the ancestor's heart. Then, he pulled it out forcefully. The ancestor's heart and godhead were immediately pulled out by Murong Yu. It was dripping with blood, extremely bloody and terrifying. "Give me back my godhead!" The ancestor was terrified and furious. He charged forward. However, Murong Yu sent him flying with a kick. Then, everyone saw that the ancestor's aura began to weaken rapidly. Not long after, he had dropped to the level of a quasi-god. A god's godhead was in the heart. Once the godhead left the body, it could no longer provide the body with energy. Then, that person would be crippled immediately. Although it would not be immediate death, he would become a cripple. Unless he could condense a new godhead, he wouldn't be able to. Chapter 894. Murong Yu exerted a little force in his hand and crushed the ancestor's heart, revealing a godhead that was emitting a faint light. Then, under everyone's gaze, the godhead shook slightly and disappeared from his hand. He had already put it away in the Hichu Luoshu world. "My godhead!" The old ancestor slumped to the ground, his face ashen as he muttered to himself. He knew he was finished. It was possible to condense a godhead again, but it required a lot of resources. Moreover, even with a lot of resources, it was impossible to succeed completely. He still remembered how much time and effort it took him to condense this godhead. "Murong Yu, please don't hold a grudge against this lowly one. Please return my godhead. I'm willing to be your slave." As if he thought of something, the ancestor-level powerhouse knelt in front of Murong-Yu with a plop, kowtowing and begging for mercy. Seeing this scene, Murong-Yu, Fan Tong, and the others' expressions didn't change. However, the people on Lin Sen's side looked very ugly. Especially Lin Sen, his expression was extremely ugly at this time, and at the same time, his resentment towards Murong-Yu was even stronger. Who wants to fight? Then hurry up, I don't have time to play with you. However, whether you fight or not, you have to give me an explanation. Recently, some of my subordinates have just ascended from the immortal world, but I'm poor. What I lack the most now, you all know. Murong-Yu didn't even look at the ancestor kneeling in front of him. He just looked at Lin Sen and the others indifferently. Murong-Yu didn't have the slightest sympathy for the ancestor kneeling in front of him. If Murong-Yu's strength was not as good as his, he would have been killed by him long ago. Murong-Yu had only taken away his godhead. That was already very merciful of him. Hearing Murong-Yu's words, everyone's expression changed. Murong-Yu was asking for benefits, or it was an apology. No matter how strong he is, there is still a limit. If you all swarm him, he won't be your match at all. Lin Sun immediately became anxious, afraid that these old ancestors would be scared away. That's right. So what if he's a late-stage heavenly god? We're not weak either. The dozen or so people looked at each other and nodded in unison. Kill! Everyone shouted at the same time and rushed towards Murong-Yu. If they could kill Murong-Yu, they would be able to obtain over 100 million low-grade god crystals. However, if they escaped, Murong-Yu would definitely come looking for them one by one. The experts of their own forces were no match for Murong-Yu. At that time, they would be slaughtered by Murong-Yu. All of you, step back. Let me teach these idiots a lesson. Seeing that these idiots still dared to attack, Murong-Yu felt that it was very funny. Immediately, Fan Tong and the other two took a few steps back. On the other hand, Murong-Yu took a step forward and teleported in front of an early-stage, heavenly god old ancestor. He reached out his hand and pierced it into the old ancestor's chest, grabbing his heart. Then, with a slight force, the old ancestor's heart and godhead were pulled out. Immediately after, Murong-Yu sent the ancestor flying with a kick. However, he didn't kill him. Their bodies swayed continuously as they teleported away. These so-called old ancestors were no match for Murong-Yu at all. All of them had their godheads snatched away by Murong-Yu in a single move, crippling their cultivation. In the end, only the middle stage heavenly god old ancestor and Lin Sen were left. However, these two people's faces were very ugly. Especially Lin Sen, who was about to faint from fright. Do you want to do it yourself, or do I have to do it? Murong-Yu slowly approached the middle stage heavenly god old ancestor. Murong-Yu, I know you're very powerful, but don't force me to fight to the death with you. Seeing Murong-Yu approaching him, the middle stage heavenly god old ancestor's face was ferocious, as if he wanted to fight to the death with Murong-Yu. Do you have the right to do that? Murong-Yu smiled. His smile was bright and heartless. You're very powerful. Perhaps I don't have the right to fight to the death with you. However, if I charge into the Ascension City and self-destruct, I wonder how many people can you save with your ability? If I'm not mistaken, there must be many of your family and friends in the Ascension City, right? The middle stage heavenly god laughed coldly. Murong-Yu's face immediately turned cold. Are you threatening me? I wouldn't dare. I just want you to let me go and not bring me bad luck. From the moment you started threatening me, you were already dead. However, I won't let you die. I'll let you live a life 1,000,000 times more miserable than theirs. Murong-Yu sneered and took another step forward. If that's the case, then let's fight to the death. The middle stage heavenly god old ancestor laughed sinisterly. His body swayed and he charged toward the Ascension City. At the same time, the aura on his body began to rise violently. I said, you don't have the right, Murong-Yu said coldly. At the same time, he teleported and appeared in front of the middle stage heavenly god. His big hand reached out. Before the middle stage heavenly god could react, he grabbed him by the neck and lifted him up like a little chick. At the same time, Morong Yu's other hand tore open the middle stage heavenly god's chest and took out his heart and godhead. Then, Morong Yu's left hand cut off the middle stage heavenly god's limbs like a knife, turning him into a human stick. Seeing that Morong Yu had cut off his limbs, the middle stage heavenly god old ancestor sneered. Even if he did not have the godhead, it would be a piece of cake for him to recover his limbs. I guess you're looking down on me right now. Cutting off your limbs is useless to you. However, why don't you regrow them now? Morong Yu sneered. The middle stage heavenly god sneered in disdain. He began to circulate his divine energy, trying to recover his right arm. However, he was stunned in the next moment. This was because when his divine power reached his left shoulder, a terrifying force devoured his divine power. Since his divine energy could not be released, his limbs could not be regrown. What did you do? What did you do to my body? The middle stage heavenly god was really frightened this time. If he had the godhead, he would still have the strength of a quasi-god. However, now that he had lost his limbs, he could only lie on a bed for the rest of his life. This was Morong Yu's goal, because when he cut off the middle stage heavenly god's limbs, he left some yin-yang flames on their severed limbs. Although the yin-yang flames were rare, the middle stage heavenly god would not be able to get rid of them in his lifetime. This was the result that Morong Yu wanted. Whoosh! Sensing Morong Yu's gaze, Lin Sen, who was almost scared to death, immediately knelt down. You obtained a divine essence mine? Morong Yu walked over slowly. Yes, my lord. If you want the divine essence mine, I can give you the divine essence mine and everything I have. I only beg you to spare my life. Lin Sen kept kowtowing, hoping that Morong Yu would let him go. At this moment, Lin Sen was extremely regretful. Previously, Fan Tong was the only one who attacked. Although Fan Tong was in the heavenly god realm, Lin Sen knew that Fan Tong's strength was not very strong. At most, he was in the early heavenly god realm. Because of this, after he escaped from the Ascension City, he used the divine essence in his hands to persuade a few patriarchs to kill Fan Tong. However, he never expected that Morong Yu, who looked so simple at that time, would be so powerful. Killing a middle stage heavenly god was like killing intent. If he had known this earlier, he would have run as far as he could. Lin Sen, I have to thank you. If you had run away previously, I wouldn't have known where to find the divine essence mine. You actually sent it to me again. You're such a good person. Morong Yu walked in front of Lin Sen with a smile on his face. Lin Sen was so regretful that he wanted to die. My lord, I'll give you everything I have. Please spare my lowly life. Lin Sen kowtowed in fear, afraid that Morong Yu would kill him with a slap. Don't worry, I won't kill you. However, I won't believe you either. So, Morong Yu's voice suddenly turned cold, then he slapped Lin Sen's head. Lin Sen felt a tearing pain in his soul and he almost fainted. However, a moment later, Lin Sen's eyes were filled with confusion. Then, he kowtowed to Morong Yu again. However, this time there was no fear on his face. Instead, there was only respect. Lin Sen greets master. Lin Sen has offended you previously. Please don't take offense. Seeing this, many people had already understood. Poor comrade Lin Sen's soul had been controlled by Morong Yu. He had become Morong Yu's servant. From then on, everything that Lin Sen had would become Morong Yu's. This was the first time that Morong Yu had controlled someone's soul after ascending to the realm of the gods. Why didn't he control it before? This was because the people that Morong Yu had met were too weak. Even if he controlled them, it would be useless. As for those who were strong, Morong Yu had not met many of them. Even if he met them, he would not be able to control them. After controlling Lin Sen's soul, Morong Yu could check Lin Sen's memory anytime and anywhere. With one look, he was a little dumbfounded. A long time ago, Lin Sun was still a rogue cultivator with no background. He was the kind of person who wanted to condense a godhood but was not qualified to do so. Originally, if he continued to develop like this, Lin Sun would not be able to condense a godhood in his lifetime. However, one day, he entered a nameless mountain range and was chased by a demonic beast that was also in the quasi-god realm. Then, in the midst of running for his life, he accidentally fell into a small hole. Just when Lin Sin thought that he was going to die, he discovered that it was actually a divine crystal mine. This was the so-called extreme misfortune turning into bliss. After discovering the divine crystal mine, Lin Sin had been cultivating there to condense a godhood and become a god. He only came out of seclusion after reaching the realm of true god. Then, coincidentally, when Ascension City was without a master, he took the opportunity to occupy Ascension City and became the master of Ascension City. Chapter 895. There was a nameless mountain range 5 trillion miles east of Ascension City. This mountain range wasn't very big, and the spiritual energy wasn't rich either. Therefore, there weren't even many powerful demonic beasts in this mountain range. Let alone humans? It could even be said that if there were no treasures here, no one would appear here even for an era. But now, a group of 3 people appeared. City Lord Murong Yu of Ascension City, Fan Tong, and Lin Sin, whose soul was controlled by Murong Yu. Holy Master, that divine crystal mine is there. Not long after Murong Yu and the other 2 entered the mountain range, Lin Sun pointed at an ordinary small hole on the ground and said. Murong Yu nodded. He had read Lin Sen's memories. He knew that Lin Sun had discovered the divine crystal mine hidden deep underground after falling into this small hole back then. Besides, Su Hao wouldn't know what tricks Lin Sun was up to. After all, his soul was already controlled by Murong Yu. Seeing that Murong Yu was the first to return and wanted to enter the small hole, Fan Tong couldn't help but pull him back and say, "Can this guy be trusted?" "No problem." Murong Yu smiled slightly. Then, he flew down the small hole first. Fan Tong followed closely behind, followed by Lin Sin at the end. The small hole was extremely deep. Murong Yu descended for a long time. Gradually, he felt rich divine essence power rushing towards him. Furthermore, as he descended deeper, the divine essence power became denser and denser. After descending more than 10 billion miles, Murong Yu finally landed on the ground again. Back then, Lin Sin actually didn't fall to his death in such a high cave. On the contrary, he benefited from a disaster. It had to be said that this guy was very lucky. It was indeed a divine crystal mine. After stepping on the ground, Su Hao saw a huge cave that meandered into the distance. And on the stone walls of the cave were pieces of shining crystals. This was a cave made of divine crystals. Moreover, Murong Yu also discovered that this divine crystal mine seemed to have not been developed yet. Immediately, he could not help but glance at Senator Lin Sin smiled embarrassedly. He had cultivated here for countless years, so he didn't need to pick divine crystals at all. Just the amount of God Yuan Qi emitted from the God crystal mine was enough for him to cultivate. Not long ago, when he left the divine essence mine, he had casually stepped on 1 billion divine essences. However, 1 billion divine crystals was just the tip of the iceberg to this divine crystal mine. What else is there in the depths of the divine essence mine? Murong Yu studied the divine essence mine and strode in. So many divine crystals. We're rich. Fan Tong, who had been silent since entering the divine essence mine, suddenly exclaimed. His eyes lit up as he stared at the sparkling divine crystals, as if he couldn't wait to embrace them. Murong Yu looked at Fan Tong with disdain. This guy had a great background. He didn't lack divine crystals or divine veins at all. Moreover, he was very generous to his friends. But this guy had a flaw. It was that when he saw divine crystals, divine veins, and the likes, his eyes would light up. Since he wasn't greedy, but he was always like this made Murong Yu feel rather speechless. If you like it so much, then you can move this divine essence mine away, Murong Yu said to Fan Tong in disdain. But Fan Tong shook his head. I don't have the strength. Of course, if I reach the realm of Heavenly Emperor, I might consider it. Although the divine essence mine was deep underground, a Heavenly Emperor realm powerhouse reaching out a large hand could still grab the entire mine. While talking, they already penetrated several tens of thousands of miles deep into the divine essence mine. Although this divine essence mine is all low-grade divine crystals, looking at the reserves, it's at least above 1 trillion. Among low-grade divine essence mines, it's also considered a middle-grade mine, Fan Tong said with an emotional sigh along the way. 1 trillion was 1 trillion, 1 trillion was also a quadrillion. Perhaps there might be more than 10 trillion low-grade divine crystals here. After walking for a while more, Fan Tong immediately changed his tune and said. In the end, Fan Tong was already shocked until he could not speak. Because they already walked a distance of 1,000,000 miles in this mine. And this divine essence mine still could not see the end. This divine essence mine is already equivalent to middle-grade divine essence mine. I wonder if there are middle-grade divine crystals in the depths? If there aren't middle-grade divine crystals, it's impossible to extend so long. Middle-grade divine crystals? Fan Tong suddenly cried out in surprise. At the same time that he cried out in surprise, a surge of divine essence even thicker than low-grade divine essence hit head-on. At the same time, Murong Yu also saw that the divine crystals above the divine essence mine started to undergo changes. Actually, divine crystals all looked the same. However, apart from using the divine essence density degree they contained to differentiate, one could also use the color they displayed to differentiate. Low-grade divine crystals appeared white, divine essence energy the weakest. Middle-grade divine crystals appeared orange, while high-grade divine crystals appeared red. Now, the divine crystals that Murong Yu and the other two saw were all orange. In other words, these were all middle-grade divine crystals. Fan Tong, what's going on? Didn't you say that every divine essence mine only has one type of divine crystal? Murong Yu stopped and turned to look at Fan Tong. Lin Sun also looked at Fan Tong curiously. In principle, yes. But there's another situation where divine crystals of different grades can appear in a divine essence mine. It looks like different kinds of mines, but it's only one mine. As he spoke, Fan Tong's face instantly revealed an excited expression. Murong Yu was extremely shocked. Fan Tong's words were simply nonsense. This isn't an ordinary divine essence mine, but a special. If I'm not wrong, there's definitely a mother of divine crystals in the depths of this divine essence mine. Mother of divine crystals? What's that? Lin Sun couldn't help but ask curiously. Originally, with his status, he couldn't be so impolite. But the excited Fan Tong didn't care so much. The so-called Mother of Divine Crystals is the source of the divine crystals that can nurture divine crystals. Do you know how divine crystals appear? Fan Tong asked Murong Yu and Lin Sun excitedly. Murong Yu and Lin Sun shook their heads. He didn't know. Divine crystals are actually nurtured by the Mother of Divine Crystals. Of course, it doesn't mean that they're produced like animals. The nurturing process is that the Mother of Divine Crystals can slowly transform everything around it into divine crystals. The closer it is to the Mother of Divine Crystals, the Saint-tier divine crystals of the highest grade. The further it is from the Mother of Divine Crystals, the lower the grade of the divine crystal, and the less divine energy it contains. According to what you said, doesn't every divine essence mine have divine crystals of various grades? Fan Tong shook his head. The Mother of Divine Crystals also has different grades. High-grade Mother of Divine Crystals can nurture divine scriptures. Some low-grade ones can only nurture low-grade divine crystals. That's why the divine essence mines below can only have low-grade divine crystals, and middle-grade divine essence mines not only have middle-grade divine crystals, but also low-grade divine crystals. Moreover, after every divine essence mine, as long as the mother of divine crystals still exists, the divine essence mine will never dry up. So that's how it is, Murongyu nodded, but a crazy idea flashed through his mind. There's at least one middle-grade mother of divine crystals here. Fan Tong was excited. He immediately flew past Murongyu and headed deeper into the divine essence mine. This time, they didn't go very far, only about 500,000 miles. In other words, low-grade divine crystals were as long as meridians. Red divine crystals appeared in front of them. High-grade divine crystals. This time, Fan Tong was even more excited. At the same time, Murongyu's heart also began to stir. After the high-grade divine crystals was the supreme-grade divine essence mine. However, the supreme-grade divine essence mine was only 10,000 miles long. After passing through 10,000 miles, they entered the supreme-grade divine essence mine. Lin Sen was so excited that he almost fainted when he saw the supreme-grade divine crystals flickering with purple light. Even Murongyu and Fan Tong couldn't help but be excited. Whether or not there's a sacred-grade divine crystal, we're rich. It's at least the mother of divine crystals of supreme-grade divine essence. F***ck, I didn't expect such a mine to appear on the primordial continent. What a surprise! Fan Tong cursed excitedly as he sped forward. All of a sudden, Fan Tong stopped in his tracks and stared blankly at the shimmering black divine crystal in front of him. Sacred-grade divine crystals. Only a sacred-grade divine crystal would emit a black light. Lin Sin exclaimed when he saw the sacred-grade divine crystals. Then, he fainted with a plop. What a pitiful fellow! If it weren't for the fact that someone came back to kill him, he would have been dead already. The divine crystals in this mine are enough for you to become a celestial emperor. Fan Tong had finally calmed down. That unlucky kid. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have known there was such a heaven-defying divine crystal here. This guy is definitely our lucky star. Murongyu couldn't help but laugh. Let's go. Let's go deeper and see what this so-called mother of divine crystals looks like. Murongyu grabbed Lin Sen and quickly flew forward with Fan Tong. The sacred-grade divine essence mine wasn't very long. It was only about 10,000 miles long. Soon, Murongyu and Jian Wushuang had reached the end of the road. Suddenly, waves of golden light emitted from the depths of the divine essence mine. It was especially dazzling in the divine essence mine that flickered with black light. The light of the mother of divine crystals. Murongyu and Fan Tong glanced at each other and sped up. Very soon, they arrived in a cavern that seemed like a stone room. The entire cave was filled with black crystals that contained a terrifying amount of power. Saint-grade god crystals. This was a world of sacred-grade divine crystals. However, Murongyu and Fan Tong didn't even look at the divine crystals. Instead, they stared at the center of the stone room. A palm-sized golden crystal, which was constantly emitting a soft golden light, lay there quietly. A rich and powerful aura also surged over. Chapter 896. The Mother of Divine Crystals. When Murongyu and Fan Tong saw the fist-sized crystal that was emitting a golden light, they cried out in surprise once again. Their voices were filled with excitement. Amidst the excitement, Murongyu's heart was filled with doubt and confusion. This small fist-sized crystal was actually able to nurture a divine crystal mine? How miraculous! We can't touch this mother of divine crystal. That way, this divine crystal mine won't dry up. Once the mother of divine crystal is gone, the mine will be exhausted sooner or later. Fan Tong calmed down and said excitedly. You're saying that as long as the mother of divine crystal is here, it can nurture a mine after a period of time? Murongyu looked at Fan Tong and asked again. Fan Tong nodded and looked at Morong Yu with confusion. You want to take it away? That's too much of a pity. Morong Yu shook his head. The divine crystal mine can be discovered by Lin Sin by accident, but it can also be discovered by others. When the news spreads, it'll be difficult for us to protect the Mother of Divine Crystal with our strength. Only when the Mother of Divine Crystal is in my control will it be the safest. Only then will I be at ease. It's a pity. If you have a spatial treasure that's large enough and similar to the real world, you can put the Mother of Divine Crystal in it. This way, it won't be long before a divine essence mine is formed, Fan Tong said with a wistful expression. Morong Yu put the Mother of Divine Crystal into the Hichu Luoshu world. At the same time, he smiled and said, Who told you I don't have such a treasure? You really have such a treasure? Fan Tong immediately became excited. However, he was more skeptical. Don't resist, Morong Yu smiled faintly. Then, he waved his hand and the three of them disappeared. Lin Sen's soul was already under his control. Naturally, he would not expose the matter of Hichu Luoshu. As for Fan Tong, after being together for so many years, Morong Yu had long recognized him as a brother. Naturally, he was not worried that he would leak the secret. This is simply too inconceivable. Fan Tong felt the scenery before his eyes change, and then he appeared in an unfamiliar space. As far as the eye could see, the surroundings were boundless, just like a real world. How big is this world? It's not very big, just average. Morong Yu did not say that Hichu Luoshu was infinitely big. It wasn't that he didn't believe in Fan Tong, it was just that that would be too frightening. As they spoke, Morong Yu had already arrived at a mountain range that stretched on endlessly. Then, he buried the Mother of Divine Crystal at the peak of the mountain. This way, it wouldn't be long before this mountain range would be infected by the Mother of Divine Crystals and become a divine crystal mine. As long as the Mother of Divine Crystals wasn't destroyed, the divine crystal mine wouldn't be depleted. Ignoring the stunned Fan Tong, Morong Yu left Hichu Luoshu and appeared in Ascension City. After controlling Ascension City, Shenzhen and close to 1 million people ascended to the divine realm. This time, Su Hao chose to bring 100,000 people into the Hichu Luoshu world. 100,000 people, all of them from the former 4 major teams, were absolutely loyal to Morong Yu. Actually, it wasn't that the others weren't loyal to Morong Yu. But all Shenzhen's people were absolutely loyal. The reason why he chose these 100,000 people was that they were treated as trusted aides by Morong Yu. Once anything happened, Morong Yu would immediately instruct these 100,000 people to do it. When they first arrived at the Divine Crystal Mine and saw those saint-grade divine crystals flickering with black light, these 100,000 people were deeply shocked. But very quickly they reacted and began to mine these divine crystals. Regarding this, they didn't show any dissatisfaction. Not to mention that Morong Yu threw them into this divine crystal mine filled with divine essence. Even if they didn't cultivate, their strength would still increase faster than outside. Even if Morong Yu threw them into a godforsaken place, they wouldn't complain. Because they were able to achieve what they had today because of Morong Yu. Fan Tong, we should go and do something. Morong Yu returned to Ascension City again and released Fan Tong and Lin Sin from the Hichu Luoshu world. Mining the divine crystal mine? I'm not interested, you can do it yourself. Fan Tong thought that they were going to mine the divine crystal mine and immediately looked disinterested. No, there's naturally someone in charge of the divine crystal mine. It's time for us to visit the forces behind them. Morong Yu pointed at the patriarchs of some forces in the primordial wasteland continent whose godheads he had taken away previously. I like it. Haha. Fan Tong laughed out loud and then slapped all of them unconscious. In the end, they were kept into the Hichu Luoshu world by Morong Yu and flew towards the Shadow Canyon that was closest to Ascension City. The Shadow Canyon was a huge canyon. In the canyon, there was a force that was about the same size as Ascension City, but its strength was several times stronger than Ascension City. The Lee family. In the Lee family, there were more than 10 peak true god experts and 2 patriarchs who had reached the early heavenly god realm. One of the patriarchs was crippled by Morong Yu and became a cripple, while the other patriarch was guarding the Shadow Canyon. Li Wenyong, get out here! With Morong Yu and Fan Tong bolstering their courage, Lin Sun stood in the void and shouted at the Li family below. Who are you, scoundrel? How dare you call the patriarchs by their names? You're courting death. Before Lin Sen's roar subsided, the Li family was in an uproar. At the same time, several figures quickly rose into the sky and appeared in front of Morong Yu and the others. A few late true god experts. In the primordial wasteland continent, a peak late true god expert was already considered an expert. Lin Sen, how dare you call the patriarchs by their names? Have you forgotten how you groveled and begged our patriarchs a few days ago? Seeing that it was Lin Sen, the Li family's experts scolded him. Lin Sen's face instantly turned ugly. Previously, when he came to the Li family for help, even though he had a large amount of divine gems, his strength was still inferior. He could only grovel and beg, which made him feel humiliated. Who are you? Call Li Wenyong out here. Otherwise, I don't mind squashing Li Wenwu to death. Lin Sen sneered and waved the unconscious Li Wenwu in his hand, who was also one of the Li family's patriarchs. Squashing our patriarchs to death? Who do you think you are? Of course, the Li family's people did not believe that the person in Lin Sen's hand was one of the 2 patriarchs that they used to look up to. Lin Sen sneered and slapped the unconscious Li Wenwu awake. Li Wenwu, you'd better let Li Wenyong come out. Otherwise, if my hand trembles, your little life will be gone. Bastard! Call Li Wenyong out. Hearing Lin Sen's words and thinking of Morong Yu's terrifying strength, Li Wenwu did not dare to resist. He immediately shouted at the Li family's people. This voice sounds like Patriarch Wenwu, bastard! I'm Li Wenwu. Li Wenyong, get the F***ck out here. Li Wenyong was furious. Whoosh! A figure suddenly shot out from the depths of the Li family and appeared in front of Lin's senator. He looked at Lin Sen with murderous intent and reached out his hand to grab Li Wenwu. Suddenly, a terrifying aura shrouded Lin Sen's mind as if he could be wiped off the face of the world at any time. Lin Sen instantly felt the aura of death. However, relying on Morong Yu behind him, Lin Sen did not retreat. Morong Yu's cold voice rang out. You're quite impressive. Why aren't you kneeling? At the same time, a large black hand appeared out of thin air. It descended from the sky and slapped Li Wenyong. Plop! An early heavenly god, one of the ancestors of the Li clan, kneeled in front of Lin Sen with a sullen expression. Plop! Plop! After Li Wenyong knelt down, the Li family's true gods knelt down one after another in fear. They knew what it meant to be able to suppress their patriarch. Who are you? Li Wenyong's heart was incomparably terrified. Amidst his terror, he looked at Morong Yu with unwillingness. City Governor of Ascension City, Morong Yu. Li Wenwu and a dozen other patriarchs came to kill me, but I took all of their godhoods. Buzz, everyone in the Li family was stunned when they heard Morong Yu's words. A dozen patriarchs had their godhoods taken by Morong Yu? Furthermore, they had joined forces. Could it be that he was an overgod? The Li family's hearts were instantly filled with despair. However, the heavens are benevolent. I'm not a bloodthirsty person. Even if they joined forces to kill me, I would only take away their godheads as punishment. Taking their godhoods is 1,000,000 times more painful than killing them directly. You're a demon. The Li family's members could not help but shiver. They were terrified. Originally, based on what your patriarchs did, all of you should have had your godhoods taken by me, plop. Some of them fainted immediately. However, as I said before, the heavens are benevolent. If you can give me a satisfactory compensation, I won't touch you at all. However, if I'm not satisfied, then I'll have to apologize. Senior, what do you need? Li Wenyong gritted his teeth and endured the humiliation. Take me to your treasury, Morong-yu said indifferently. Li Wenyong opened his mouth. Just as he was about to refuse, he saw a cold light and terrifying killing intent flash through Morong-yu's eyes. Then, he agreed in an extremely sullen manner and led Morong-yu and the others to their treasury. Half a day later, Morong-yu and the others swaggered off, leaving behind a messy treasury and their patriarch, Li Wenwu, who looked like a dead dog. As for the Li family's treasury, it had been swept clean for countless years. Morong-yu had taken away 90% of the items. He had practically emptied their treasury. Chapter 897. The Li family's many years of savings had almost been emptied by Morong-yu. This made them very angry, aggrieved, and unwilling to accept this. However, a few days later, as more and more news came, the Li family's hearts gradually calmed down. The Wang family's treasury had almost been emptied. The mysterious dragon sect had been uprooted by Morong-yu. At the same time, all the items in the mysterious dragon sect's treasury had fallen into Morong-yu's hands. Not long after, the forces behind the dozen or so great ancestors who had come to Ascension City that day were all suppressed by Morong-yu. Among them, 3 forces were ruthlessly uprooted by Morong-yu. Not even a chicken or dog was spared. The other forces were slightly better, but their treasury was almost lifted into the air. Apart from the 3 forces that were destroyed by Morong-yu, Morong-yu was merciful to the other forces. At least, he left them with 10% of protection. At this point, the grievances and unwillingness in the Li family's hearts were all gone. They were only glad. They were glad that they did not choose to fight Morong-yu head-on. Otherwise, their family would have ceased to exist on the primordial continent. It was the same for the other families. While they were glad, they were deeply warned, you can offend others in the future, but you must not offend the people from Ascension City. They are all demons, and we can't afford to offend them. If Morong-yu were to find out that the forces they had robbed were so respectful towards them, wouldn't he laugh out loud? Due to Morong-yu's high-profile robbery of the dozen or so heavenly god great ancestors, his name and Ascension City had spread, intimidating many forces on the primordial continent. After all, although the primordial continent was big and there were countless forces, however, there were only a few families with heavenly god great ancestors overseeing them. Moreover, even a mid-stage heavenly god great ancestor was not a match for Morong-yu, who would dare to harbor ill intentions against Ascension City. For a time, Ascension City became a forbidden ground for many forces. They did not dare to offend it. Of course, there were many people who dared to stroke the tiger's whiskers these days. Moreover, there were also many people who did not like Ascension City. It was impossible for the giants of the primordial continent to watch the Ascension City grow stronger. This was because once a force's strength increased too quickly and became a giant, it would create a conflict of interest with them. In fact, Morong-yu's goal had always been the 4 continent. Establishing Shenzhen in Ascension City was only a last resort. He had no interest in the primordial continent at all. After all, the primordial continent was the lowest-level continent. Normally, only peak true gods could be found. Even heavenly gods were few and far between. However, even if Morong-yu said it out loud, no one would believe him. Therefore, the magnates of the primordial continent, led by the Lingtian Mansion and the Skywave Mansion, had gathered in Primordial City to discuss how to deal with Morong-yu and suppress Morong-yu. There weren't many forces that were qualified to gather together, only a dozen or so. However, these 10 were the true giants of the primordial wilderness continent. This was because they all had late heavenly gods in their forces. Forces without late heavenly gods could not be called giant. That was because there were no overgods in the primordial continent. Late-stage heavenly gods were already overlord. If it were up to me, We should just kill Murong Yu and suppress Ascension City. He's just a clown, a late heavenly god said indifferently. The force he was in was called the Wandering Dragon Gang, one of the giants of the primordial continent. I heard that Murong Yu is also a late heavenly god and he's quite young. I heard that he has no ambition for the primordial continent. He's young and powerful. Would you believe that if I didn't say that he has no ambition? This kind of person is even more ambitious. If we don't stop him, he'll definitely unify the primordial continent. By then, there'll be no place for us. Moreover, this guy has reached late heavenly god at such a young age. His potential is limitless and terrifying. Maybe he'll leave the primordial continent. After all, it's hard to reach a higher level here. His stage is on a higher level continent. No matter what, Ascension City can't become stronger. Otherwise, there'll be no place for us in the primordial continent. The group discussed. Although they had different opinions in the beginning, they eventually came to a united front. They wanted to force Murong Yu out of Ascension City or kill him and destroy Ascension City. It seems quite lively. Everyone, are you guys really discussing how to deal with me? Just as everyone was about to make their move against Murong Yu, an indifferent voice rang out from behind them. Everyone was shocked. Then, they saw a black-clothed young man walking over from afar as if he was taking a stroll. Almost immediately, he entered the courtyard they were in. They were in a manor in the primordial continent. It was one of the properties of the Ling Tian mansion. Whoosh! After seeing the black-clothed young man, everyone stood up involuntarily. They looked at him with a serious expression. Murong Yu? The person who came was Murong Yu. Murong Yu indifferently swept his gaze across the crowd, then sat down on a chair. Murong Yu, what are you doing here? Leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. A late-stage heavenly god looked at Murong Yu and said coldly. Just a moment ago, they were still discussing how to deal with Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu's sudden appearance caused them to feel a sense of guilt. What? Weren't you guys discussing how to kill me and suppress Ascension City? Didn't I come here on my own accord? Look, I'm a good person. Murong Yu did not look nervous at all. On the contrary, he looked relaxed. However, his casual attitude was a sign of contempt and disdain for the other big shot. You guys have disappointed me. I've already said that I don't have any ambition for the primordial continent. This place is only a stepping stone for me. You guys are too petty. No wonder you guys can only fight in this small place for your entire life. You guys have no growth and no future. You're just a bunch of trash. Enough! Ling Fan, the ancestor of the Ling Tian mansion, roared at Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu acted as if he did not see or hear anything. If you're not trash, then what are you? I'm sure you all know who I am. A few decades. It's only been a few decades since I ascended from the immortal realm to the god realm. In a few decades, I went from a quasi-god without a quasi-god to a peak heavenly god. Quasi-god, deity, true god, heavenly god. 4 major realms in a few decades. Let me ask you, is a mere primordial continent worthy of my attention? Originally, I just wanted to settle down in the primordial continent temporarily. However, you short-sighted, ignorant trash wanted to deal with me. Idiotic existences, a bunch of trash. You've disappointed me and angered me at the same time. Do you know what the consequences of angering me are? Perhaps you thought that Li Wenyong and his group of trash must have angered me. However, you're all wrong. Those people did not anger me. Therefore, I magnanimously did not kill them. I only took their quasi-gods and their countless years of savings. When they heard Murong Yu talking to himself, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. If he was already like that when he was not angered, what would he do once he was angered? Are you afraid? Murong Yu sneered, his face full of disdain. From the moment you decided to deal with me, your fate has already come to an end because of your stupidity. Not only that, even the forces behind you have also come to an end. From today onwards, there will no longer be any giants like Lingtian Prefecture or Skywave Prefecture on the primordial continent. The only giant left will be Ascension City. Remember, you forced me to do all of this. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be bothered to take half a step out of Ascension City. Ha ha. Murong Yu, you've finally revealed your wild ambition. What do you mean we forced you to do? If you didn't want to protect the primordial continent in the first place, so what if we forced you? Ling Fan laughed out loud. However, that's just your last thought. Today, you won't be able to walk out of primordial continent. This will be your burial ground. After killing you, everyone in Ascension City will die. Ling Fan shouted angrily as he strode towards Murong Yu. At the same time, the other Divine Realm experts also closed in on Murong Yu. You bunch of trash. You still don't know what's good for you when you're about to die. Today, I'll kill all of you one by one. Murong Yu suddenly disappeared as he spoke. Boom. The moment Murong Yu disappeared, a huge fist came out of the void and landed on Ling Fan's head. A terrifying force exploded. Ling Fan only had time to let out a scream before his head exploded like a rotten watermelon. However, as long as his godhead was still there and his soul was not destroyed, Ling Fan would not die. With a thought, Ling Fan's headless body retreated. At the same time, he was about to gather his divine power to regrow his head. Die for me! Murong Yu shouted as he punched out once more. Bang! Ling Fan's body exploded from Murong Yu's punch, turning into a bloody mist that dissipated into the air. Even his soul had been destroyed. In the end, all that was left was a godhead that was emitting a faint glow. Murong Yu grabbed it and pulled it over. The first one. After Murong Yu killed Ling Fan, who was at the peak of the late Heavenly God stage, with 2 punches, he stood on the spot and looked at everyone indifferently. Everyone's hearts were beating wildly. A terrifying emotion quickly spread among them. Too terrifying. Murong Yu's strength was too terrifying. He killed Ling Fan with 2 punches. This made them feel incomparable fear. Chapter 898. He's powerful, but he's only one person. We can kill him with so many of us. An ancestor of Skywave Prefecture roared. He suppressed the fear in his heart and charged at Murong Yu. At the same time, the others calmed down. They knew they could only live a peaceful life after killing Murong Yu together. Otherwise, they would be killed by Murong Yu one by one. Immediately, more than a dozen late-stage Divine Realm experts charged at Murong Yu at the same time. They wanted to kill Murong Yu. Murong Yu faced the sky and let out a long howl as he teleported away. His figure flickered as he dodged the incoming attacks. At the same time, he appeared in front of a late-stage Divine Realm Old Ancestor. Boom! Murong Yu's 1,000 armies elephant drawing fist landed on the Hotian god's body. The terrifying power exploded. The late-stage Divine Realm expert did not even have time to react before he was smashed into a cloud of blood mist. He was killed. This time, Murong Yu was really angry. Every time he attacked, he used his strongest attack. Originally, his 3 godheads were all late-stage Divine Realm expert. With the fighting formula, his battle prowess increased tenfold and his body was at the peak of mid-grade Divine Artifact. Even an early-stage Divine Realm expert would be killed by his punch, let alone these ordinary late-stage Divine Realm experts. Murong Yu used the army formula and teleported again and again. These Divine Realm experts could not even touch the corner of his clothes. Every time he appeared, a patriarch would be killed. Bang! 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 In less than half a day, more than half of the ancestors were killed. In the end, only the strongest ancestor of Skywave Prefecture was left. Stop! Murong Yu, stop! The ancestor of Skywave Prefecture was terrified. He looked at Murong Yu in horror. As I said, when you gather together and decide to kill me, you'll die. You've already lived for another half a day. Murong Yu laughed nastily. His figure flashed and disappeared. Bang! When he reappeared, his huge fist struck the ancestor of Skywave Prefecture, shattering him into millions of pieces. More than a dozen patriarchs were killed. Murong Yu grabbed the godheads and storage rings, then took a step forward and disappeared from the courtyard. When he reappeared, he was already in the Ling Tian mansion. In the Ling Tian mansion, other than the late-stage Heavenly God ancestor, there were more than a dozen Heavenly God stage experts. He was extremely powerful. However, now that their ancestors had been killed, they were no longer a concern. Not far ahead, a mid-Heavenly God from the Ling Tian mansion was cultivating. Murong Yu snorted coldly, kicked the door to pieces, and walked in. Who is it? The middle-stage Heavenly God, who was in the midst of cultivation, flew into a rage. Without even looking at Murong Yu, he threw a punch at him. I'm the one who's going to kill you. Murong Yu said indifferently as he threw out a punch as well. Crack! The mid-stage Heavenly Deity's fist was shattered into fine powder midway. Then, under his terrified and shocked expression, Murong Yu's divine fist bravely continued forward and smashed him to pieces with a single punch. After collecting the godhead and storage ring, Murong Yu's figure flickered and disappeared once again. When he reappeared, he was already in the main hall of the Ling Tian mansion. Here, 5 heavenly gods were waiting anxiously. They were probably waiting for news from their ancestor. Bang! Suddenly, a middle-stage heavenly god who was sitting in the main hall exploded. Immediately, the other 4 people were shocked. However, before they could react, an early-stage heavenly god also exploded. At this moment, Murong Yu's figure appeared in their line of sight. Who are you? The remaining 3 were scared silly. Their first reaction wasn't to run away or attack, but to ask who Murong Yu was. The one who killed you is also the one you want to kill. Murong Yu said indifferently as he attacked again. Rumble waves of terrifying power burst out. 1 middle-stage heavenly god and 2 early-stage heavenly gods could not do anything to Murong Yu. They were killed by him directly. After killing these people, Murong Yu didn't stop. Instead, he continued to walk towards the location of the heavenly god stage that his divine consciousness had sensed. In less than 2 hours, more than a dozen heavenly gods of the Ling Tian mansion were killed by Murong Yu. In the end, when Murong Yu took away the entire treasury of the Ling Tian mansion, the people in the Ling Tian mansion learned the news. After all the heavenly gods of the Ling Tian mansion were killed, the mansion was in chaos. No one dared to chase after Murong Yu. After leaving the Ling Tian mansion, Murong Yu killed his way into the Skywave Prefecture. The strength of the Skywave Prefecture was similar to that of the Ling Tian mansion, so the number of heavenly gods was almost the same. However, the Skywave Prefecture was also vulnerable. It did not take much time for Murong Yu to kill all the heavenly gods of the Skywave Prefecture. After taking away the treasury of the Skywave Prefecture, Murong Yu left the primitive wasteland city. Murong Yu did not go back to the Ascension City. In addition to the Skywave Prefecture and the Ling Tian mansion, there were more than a dozen forces that wanted to kill him. Murong Yu's next target was these forces. A month later, more than a dozen forces that wanted to kill Murong Yu were all uprooted by Murong Yu. Of course, Murong Yu only killed their heavenly gods and took away their treasures. However, these forces were originally the superpowers of the primitive wasteland continent and had countless enemies. Now that there was no celestial deity realm powerhouse holding down the fort, those enemies of theirs naturally would not be courteous. After Murong Yu killed the heavenly gods of the last force, the other dozen or so forces had also been wiped out by their opponent. Some forces had only retreated in defeat, while others had been completely annihilated. Murong Yu did not care about this at all. Originally, they had minded their own business and would not have been wiped out. However, they wanted to kill him. The fact that Murong Yu hadn't personally killed every single one of them was already quite merciful. At this point, the Ascension City had become the only superpower in the primitive wasteland continent. If Murong Yu wanted to unify the primitive wasteland continent, he would be the overlord of the primitive wasteland continent. However, Murong Yu made it clear that the Ascension City would not rule the primitive wasteland continent and would not provoke others. Of course, if someone provoked the Ascension City, they would have to bear the wrath of the Ascension City. After witnessing Murong Yu's strength and power, who would dare to provoke the Ascension City? After intimidating the entire primitive wasteland continent, Murong Yu finally had some free time. It was worth mentioning that during this process, someone in Shenzhen finally succeeded in condensing a divine lattice and divine body. The speed was as fast as Murong Yu. The first to successfully condense a divine lattice was the fire-eyed golden ape who had obtained the inheritance of the heavenly demon god. After the fire-eyed golden ape, the big black dog also successfully condensed a divine lattice and passed the deity realm. Other than those who had inherited memories, the speed of the others was much slower. However, condensing a divine lattice was only a matter of time. Once he was free, Murong Yu felt that he had nothing to do. I wonder if those people have made a move against the Heavenly Tao sect? On this day, this thought suddenly flashed through Murong Yu's mind. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared from the Ascension City. Rumble, as soon as Murong Yu appeared outside the Heavenly Tao sect, he heard a series of loud noises coming from the direction of the Heavenly Tao sect. At the same time, it was accompanied by a terrifying fluctuation of power. Someone is attacking the Heavenly Tao sect. Murong Yu frowned slightly. When he met Tianjizi and obtained the ring of the Heavenly Tao sect's sect master, Murong Yu had already regarded the Heavenly Tao sect as his own sect. Now that he saw someone attacking the Heavenly Tao sect, he was naturally unhappy. Thus, he hid his body, spread his angel wings, and flew towards the Heavenly Tao sect. However, he soon stopped. At this time, the Natural Law School, which was originally surrounded by strange peaks and beautiful scenery, had now become a ruin. The ground was dyed red with blood. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. As far as the eye could see, there were only a few people fighting. The Heavenly Tao sect, which originally belonged to the disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect, was now filled with people from other sections. Disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect, how dare you kill the young master of the Divine Union? Your Heavenly Tao sect will be buried with my young master. A cold voice came from afar, frightening the remaining people of the Heavenly Tao sect and infuriating Murong Yu. It is indeed this shameless force. Murong Yu was furious. Back in the Heavenly Chasm, he had not only killed Ji Tianji, but also some primordial gods and heavenly venerables. The forces behind those people had not caused trouble for the Heavenly Tao sect, but the Divine Union, which had only lost a heavenly king, had made a move. It had to be said that the Divine Union was too despicable. Murong Yu has been expelled from the sect by us. He is no longer a disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect. How dare you kill the disciples of the Heavenly Tao sect? This is simply intolerable. The people of the Heavenly Tao sect were furious, and their hatred for Murong Yu was even more intense. They all believed that the fall of the Heavenly Tao sect was completely caused by Murong Yu. Forget it. The Heavenly Tao sect has been destroyed. In the future, I will destroy the Divine Union and avenge all of you. Now let's go and get the treasury of the Heavenly Tao sect. Murong Yu really wanted to kill these people of the Divine Union, but there were definitely heavenly emperors among them. Given his current strength, he was simply no match for them. Therefore, he hid himself and headed toward the treasury in the depths of the Heavenly Tao sect. The treasury of the Heavenly Tao sect was similar to the library. It was a 9-story tower with many restrictions. When Murong Yu flew over, the treasury was already surrounded by some disciples of the Divine Union. However, although the Heavenly Tao sect was not as strong as the Divine Union, it was impossible for them to break the restrictions in a short time. Chapter 899. However, the Heavenly Tao sect was ultimately only a superforce in the Dream Wilderness. They probably didn't even have Heavenly Emperor powerhouses now. Even if they did, they would have been killed long ago. Because in front of the treasure vault, Su Hao saw 5 Heavenly Emperor powerhouses from the Divine Union. Apart from that, there were actually no powerhouses from the Heavenly Tao sect. In fact, Morong Yu estimated that even if the Heavenly Tao sect had Heavenly Emperor powerhouses, there definitely weren't many. It was impossible for them to be a match for the Divine Union. Otherwise, the Heavenly Tao sect wouldn't have been destroyed. At this moment, the 5 Heavenly Emperors of the Divine Union were cracking the restrictions of the treasure vault. I wonder if I can use Hichu Luoshu to take away the entire treasure vault? However, even if I can, I will expose my identity. I might as well discuss them. In the void, Morong Yu thought for a while. Then, he flapped his angel wings and disappeared from the spot in a flash. Ever since he became stronger and gained a deeper understanding of space rules, these so-called restrictions were completely useless to him. Even if he directly entered the treasure vault, those restrictions didn't discover him at all. Swoosh! Morong Yu appeared on the first level of the treasure vault. The moment it appeared, a surge of divine essence energy that was vast like an ocean pounced overhead on. Su Hao looked over and saw that the first level of the treasure vault had another space. It was an incomparably huge space. In this space, there were mountains of divine crystals that flickered with various colors. The first floor stored divine crystals. The first thing that entered his sight was the mountain-like piles of white divine crystals, which were low-grade divine crystals. Among the low-grade divine crystals, there were orange middle-grade divine crystals. Su Hao's divine will spread out and directly covered the first level of the treasure vault. Then, he discovered that there were the least low-grade divine crystals here, followed by the highest-grade saint-grade and military-grade divine crystals. And the most were actually supreme-grade divine crystals. This wasn't hard to understand. After all, there were too few peerless and saint-grade divine crystals. Even the Heavenly Tao sect definitely didn't have many. And the reason why there were so few low-grade divine crystals was because there was no need to store them in the treasure vault. At least above 10,000 trillion. Morong Yu roughly estimated the number of divine crystals on the first floor, but he didn't get the correct number. However, it didn't matter. He immediately summoned the Hichu Luoshu and expanded it to cover the entire first floor. Swish! Hichu Luoshu released a huge force and sucked in. Instantly, he collected all the divine crystals on this floor into the He-Tu and the Book of the Luo. He didn't even let go of the divine crystals that had fallen into the corner. He collected all of them without leaving a single one behind. In an instant, the entire first floor became empty. Hee. I wonder what kind of expressions those idiots from the Divine Union will make when they discover that there is nothing after going through so much effort to enter this place? Morong Yu sneered as he entered the second floor of the treasury in a flash. In fact, there was a restriction between the first and second floors, but it had no effect on Morong Yu. The second level's divine essence was only stronger than the first level's, because what was stored here were divine veins. There were low-grade, middle-grade, high-grade divine veins, and even higher-grade divine veins. Boom! Just as Morong Yu was about to take a look at how many divine veins there were, he felt the entire treasury shake violently. Then, he used his spiritual consciousness at the entrance of the first floor to see that the people from the Divine Union had already broken through the restriction and rushed in. Oh no, the restriction on the outermost layer of the treasury is the strongest. As for the restriction between the floors, it can't even withstand a single blow. They will be on the second floor soon. Morong Yu's expression changed. He couldn't care less about how many divine veins there were. He immediately summoned the Hichu Luoshu and collected all the divine veins. Then, he took a step forward and rushed into the third floor. What's going on? When the elites from the Divine Union entered the first floor of the treasury, they saw that it was empty. There was nothing left in this empty space. Instantly, all of them were stupefied. Damn it, someone entered the treasury before us. They plundered this place clean before we entered. I believe that bastard has already entered the second floor or even higher, a heavenly emperor said angrily. He was so angry that smoke was about to come out of his nose. However, how could that person have entered before us? We spent a tremendous amount of effort to break that damned restriction. Could that person have ignored the restriction? Another heavenly emperor looked at the staircase between the first and second floor with murderous intent. The restriction there had not been broken. It could be the remnants of the heavenly Tao sect. They don't even need to break the restriction to enter and exit. This person must still be in the treasury. Get someone to guard outside. Let's go up and kill that bastard. Immediately, someone sent a message. Suddenly, the treasury was surrounded by countless elites from the Divine Radiance sect. Boom! Under the joint attack of the 5 heavenly emperors, the restriction between the first and second floor was simply unable to withstand a single blow and was directly shattered. Then, the group of them rushed into the second floor. However, other than the remaining divine origin chi, the second floor was the same as the first floor. There was not a single strand of hair left. Bastard! Go to the third floor. The elites from the Divine Union were furious. After breaking the restriction between the second and third floors, they appeared on the third floor. However, there was nothing on the third floor. The Divine Union was so angry that their lungs were about to explode. Fourth floor, fifth floor, sixth floor, they rushed up the floors one by one, but they were all empty. At this moment, Murong-Yu had already arrived on the 9th floor. Different treasures were stored in every level of the treasury. Divine crystals, divine veins, divine materials, and so on. The 9th floor contained the cultivation techniques of the Heavenly Tao sect. There were millions of cultivation techniques. Some of them were books, while others were jade slip. Any cultivation technique that could be stored in the treasury of the Heavenly Tao sect was not trash. These cultivation techniques just happened to solve the cultivation problem of Shenzhen and the rest. In addition to the other resources that he had obtained, Murong-Yu had practically emptied the treasury of the Heavenly Tao sect over countless years. It could even be said that the Heavenly Tao sect's countless years of operation had ultimately benefited Murong-Yu. Of course, it was a pity for the disciples that had been killed by the Divine Union. Among these cultivation techniques, there should be the Heavenly Tao scripture, right? That old man Tianjizi's storage ring should have something even more precious, Murong-Yu thought to himself. With a wave of his hand, he began to move the millions of cultivation technique. As Murong-Yu was moving all the cultivation techniques, he also heard the people from the Divine Union bombarding the restriction between the 9th and 8th floors. After thinking about it, Murong-Yu did not leave the treasury immediately. Instead, he condensed his divine power and left a few words on the 9th floor. Then, his figure flashed and he disappeared from his original spot. Boom! Just as Murong-Yu's figure disappeared, the few heavenly emperors of the Divine Union had already rushed over with murderous intent. However, they were only left with Murong-Yu's disappearing figure. It was a startling glance. Bastards of the Divine Union, you destroyed the Heavenly Tao sect. Today's enmity will be avenged. That's right, don't even think about the treasury of the Heavenly Tao sect. There won't be a single strand of hair left for you. At the same time, I suggest that you go back and guard your treasury well. When Big Brother is in a good mood, he will visit your treasury. Just as the 5 heavenly emperors were about to burn with anger, the rest of the people from the Divine Union walked over. Then, a heavenly king stage expert suddenly said these words. Damn it! The 5 heavenly emperors were already angry. When they suddenly heard this person's words, one of the heavenly emperors immediately flew into a rage and slapped the heavenly king away. ***, what did you say? The heavenly emperor glared at the heavenly king with murderous intent. The heavenly king expert looked at the heavenly emperor with an aggrieved expression. I just read out these words. Only then did everyone see the words floating in the void in front of them. It was exactly the same as what the heavenly king had just said. Immediately, apart from the few heavenly emperors, everyone else looked at the heavenly king with sympathy. In fact, apart from the heavenly king, some other people had also seen the words. However, they just didn't read it out. The heavenly king who had been slapped by the heavenly emperor was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. He cursed his bad luck in his heart. However, he could only grit his teeth and swallow it. Could it be that he still wanted the heavenly emperor to apologize to him? Or was there some kind of compensation? If he dared to say that, the heavenly emperor would definitely slap him to death. This bastard should be a remnant of the heavenly Tao sect. Damn it, he actually tricked us. If I find out who he is, I will definitely torture him to death. A heavenly emperor roared. How did he leave the treasury? One must know that there are restrictions everywhere in the treasury. Furthermore, our people were guarding outside, yet we didn't discover him? Could there be another passage in this treasury? Perhaps it's a teleportation array? A few heavenly emperors looked at each other with ugly expressions. There must be a teleportation array here, and it might even be a one-time use one. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Yes, it must be so. A few heavenly emperors really didn't know how Murongyu had left the treasury. In the end, they could only think of this possibility to comfort themselves. In fact, they all knew that it was impossible for a teleportation array to appear in the treasury. Otherwise, if someone came in, wouldn't they be able to let the other party leave easily? However, they didn't dare to believe that someone had emptied the treasury of the heavenly Tao sect under their noses, and then left to ridicule them before leaving. As for whether it was an immemorial god realm or an Empyrean realm expert, they never thought about it at all. Because if that person was an immemorial god or an Empyrean, he could kill them with a single slap. Who would be bored enough to play with them? Moreover, the person who left the words was obviously a remnant of the heavenly Tao sect. If the heavenly Tao sect really had an existence of that level, would it be destroyed by them? Chapter 900. After emptying the treasury of the Tian Tao sect, Murongyu directly entered the Hichu Luoshu and teleported back to the Ascension City. As a result, the people of the Divine Union who were guarding the treasury naturally did not discover anything. In fact, even if he did not enter the Hichu Luoshu, the people of the Divine Union would not be able to discover him. After all, he was invisible and even a heavenly emperor would not be able to discover him. Obtaining the treasury of the Tian Tao sect should be able to support the operation of the Shenzhen for a long time. Yes, even if a heavenly king powerhouse appears, there is no need to worry. Of course, this was only Murongyu's most ideal estimation. If these resources were used on a limited number of people, these people could be nurtured to the heavenly king stage or even the heavenly emperor stage. However, these resources were only enough for a few people to consume. The rest of the people would not be able to enjoy these benefits. Murongyu could not do this. What he needed to do was to maintain the operation of the entire Shenzhen. Geniuses among geniuses were people who were worth a lot of resources to nurture. However, ordinary disciples could not be given up either. After all, the people who supported a sect were not just a few exceptional geniuses, but countless ordinary disciples. Otherwise, those forces would only recruit exceptional geniuses. Why would they recruit so many ordinary disciples? Could it be that they were only used as green leaves to set off those exceptional geniuses? After the resources were distributed, the treasury of the Tian Tao sect would not be able to last for long. This was very obvious. Although this was the accumulation of the Tian Dao sect over countless years, it was still operating normally. The Tian Dao sect had already reached a balance of income and expenditure and was even making a profit. However, the current Shenzhen only knew how to consume and not produce. Naturally, it would run out of resources. Should I go to the treasury of the Divine Union and empty it out? Morong suddenly had this thought. Moreover, this thought became more and more intense after it appeared. Morong could not wait to fly over and rob the treasury of the Divine Union. Although no one in the primordial wilderness city dares to touch the Ascension City now, nothing is absolute in this world. Once I leave the primordial wilderness continent, I will need a powerhouse to guard this place. Since that's the case, let's raise Yang Yun and Ling Ling's strength first. As Morong thought about it, he immediately transmitted his divine sense to Yang Yun and Ling Ling. Soon, I will leave the primordial continent and head to the void continent. On the other hand, Shenzhen needed experts to take care of him. Now I'll help you increase your strength, at least to the peak heavenly god realm. After the two ladies came over, Morong went straight to the point. Yang Yun nodded with excitement on his face. However, there was no joy on Ling Ling's face. On the contrary, a look of worry flashed across her face. I'll go with you. Ling Ling looked at Morong and suddenly said resolutely. Morong's heart skipped a beat. He naturally knew why Ling Ling was like this. Ling Ling, the seal on your body won't loosen for the time being. It won't be a problem for you to increase your strength at all. You don't have to worry about your body's condition. Even if I go to the void continent, as soon as you feel that something is wrong with your body or when Shenzhen is attacked by a powerful enemy and you can't handle it, just crush the jade slip that I gave you. I'll rush back as soon as I can. Ling Ling still looked worried. The distance between the primordial continent and the primordial continent was extremely far. Even if Morong could sense it after crushing the jade slip, would he be able to return in time? As they did not know about the Hichu Luoshu, the two of them did not really believe it. You have to believe me. Ling Ling, I've promised that I'll help you solve your body's problem. I never go back on my words. Morong had no choice but to emphasize again. All right. Finally, Ling Ling agreed. Therefore, Morong waved his hand and put the two ladies into the Hichu Luoshu world. Time can be accelerated here. You can cultivate here. Try to reach the peak heavenly god realm or even the over god realm as soon as possible. The two women's faces were instantly filled with shock. They had never heard of time acceleration. However, no matter how shocked they were, they soon calmed down and began to cultivate. You can directly absorb the power of the divine veins. Don't worry about the lack of divine veins. Morong directly gave the two ladies 100 divine veins each. The power of these divine veins was enough for them to reach the peak of the divine realm. At the same time, Morong began to burn his divine veins to accelerate time. After the two ladies entered the state of cultivation, Morong left the Hichu Luoshu. Then, he sorted out all the treasures he had obtained from the Heavenly Dao Sect's treasury and handed them to Zhao Jiqing. For a long time, Morong had directly handed these treasures to Zhao Jiqing for safekeeping. This was a habit and at the same time a kind of trust. Of course, it was not that Morong did not trust Yu Mengqing and Mu Liu. It was just that the two ladies had the same character as Morong. They liked to leave everything to others. Even if Morong handed these treasures to them, they would never agree. When Morong was not in Shenzhen, the one who was in charge of Shenzhen was Zhao Jiqing. She had the ability to do so. Moreover, Zhao Jiqing was in charge of Shenzhen, and the entire Shenzhen people were convinced. This was not because Zhao Jiqing was Morong's wife, nor was it because she was the most beautiful woman in Shenzhen. It was because of her personality and charm. Her charm made everyone in Shenzhen admire her. As for why, Morong didn't know, nor did he know. Anyway, this was a good thing for him. In the following days, Morong did not go anywhere. He taught everyone in Shenzhen, including his children and the disciples of Shenzhen, and spent his days leisurely and carefree. The one worth mentioning was Fan Tong. This guy had a strong background and was very weak. However, his knowledge and insight, especially his experience in cultivation, were very rich. These days, he was treated by Morong Yu as Shenzhen's head instructor. Every day, he would give lectures and improve the strength of Shenzhen people. Moreover, this guy was very interested in this and would never get tired of it. In his own words, when he stood on the rostrum, the way everyone looked up to him made him feel very good. In this regard, Morong Yu was speechless. As long as this guy brought up his old man and his backer, the leaders of countless large forces in the God realm would have to look up to him. This guy was actually looking for such admiration in front of countless quasi-gods in Shenzhen. He had no future and was too useless. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. In the Hichu Luoshu world, time had accelerated, and 10,000 years had passed. With the help of countless herbs and divine pulses, Yang Yun and Ling Ling's strength had reached the peak of the heavenly god realm. They were only one step away from breaking through to the over-god realm. Morong Yu did not ask them to stop cultivating. The two girls were also doing their best to cultivate. During this process, Morong Yu did not cultivate. The power he needed was too terrifying. If he wanted to break through to the over-god realm, he would definitely use up a lot of divine pulses. And the divine pulses he used up could improve the strength of countless people in Shenzhen. Therefore, Morong Yu did not want to waste this power. In any case, he was going to the primeval wilderness continent. When the time came, he would just rob the treasuries of some forces. After another 100 years, as the two of them released powerful auras, they finally reached the over-god realm. They became the most powerful beings in the primeval wilderness continent. Of course, that did not include those freaks in the ghost village. It was worth mentioning that in these 200 years, many people in Shenzhen had successfully condensed a godhead. Zhao Jiqing and the other two girls, Morong Xian and the other three, as well as Zhang Ao and Duan Muqing, had all successfully stepped into the true god realm. Of course, not everyone could successfully enter the true god realm. Although some people had condensed a godhead, they were unable to pass the god tribulation and were turned into ashes. However, this kind of unlucky person was one in a million. It was because they were too unlucky that they ended up like this. The loss to Shenzhen was not great. Yang Yun, Ling Ling. From now on, all of you must protect Glory Sect well for me. If you find a strong enemy that you can't defeat, don't try to be brave. You must crush the jade slip that I gave you at the first moment. I will rush back as soon as possible. Before leaving, Morong Yu reminded them again. Yang Yun and Ling Ling nodded in agreement. Then, after Morong Yu gave instructions to Zhao Jiqing and the rest, he disappeared with Fan Tong. Fan Tong, do you think there are people in the ghost domain? In the Hichu Luoshu world, Morong Yu asked Fan Tong. All these years, Morong Yu often wanted to return to the ghost village. However, he always felt that the ghost village was extremely mysterious. Although those people were very good to him, Morong Yu did not want to return to the ghost village before he figured them out. In fact, there was another important reason why Morong Yu did not return to the ghost village. That was because the people in the ghost village were too strong. He did not want to go back and look for a blow. Even if a heavenly emperor expert enters the ghost domain, they can't come out. Maybe there are people inside. I'm not very sure. Fan Tong frowned. He did not know much about the ghost domain. Morong Yu nodded. He was a little disappointed. He thought that Fan Tong would know some secrets of the ghost domain. Swish. Near the mysterious Star City, Morong Yu and Fan Tong walked out of the void. Brother, this spatial treasure of yours is really amazing. It actually has a teleportation function. It's even more awesome than those teleportation arrays. After coming out, Fan Tong looked at Morong Yu enviously. Fan Tong's face was filled with envy, but there was no jealousy, let alone greed. It was because of this that Murong Yu dared to expose the Hichu Luoshu's teleportation function to him. Otherwise, he would rather fly over slowly. The only teleportation array to the Great Desolation Continent is in the Dream Desolation City. With that, Fan Tong identified the direction and then flew in the direction of the Dream Desolation City. The reason why he appeared near the Ascension City was because the closest teleportation point between the Hichu Luoshu and the Dream Desolation City was here. There was no other way. Murong Yu had not been to many places. Chapter 901. Dream Wilderness was one of the largest cities in Dream Wilderness, and the only transportation formation connected to Your Wild's continent was located here. With Murong Yu and Fan Tong's strength, it would have been impossible for them to even get close to the formation, much less use it, even if they had enough money to pay for it. However, when Fan Tong revealed a bit of his background, the big shots in charge of the transportation formation were almost scared to death. They'd gone from being lofty existences to being mere sycophants in the blink of an eye. Fan Tong's background was just too frightening. In the end, Murong Yu and Fan Tong didn't have to spend a single crystal to enter the formation. On the contrary, they were gifted with quite a few divine veins. This was the reputation of Fan Tong's father. Murong Yu sighed with emotion. In fact, in the world of immortals, Murong Yu's children would be treated in the same way if they were discovered. Murong Yu didn't have such treatment. But he didn't. He could create such treatment. He wasn't a super second generation, but he could make his descendants become super second generations as well. This was one of Murong Yu's most important pursuits, aside from his pursuit of power. Murong Yu was a good husband, a good father, and a good ancestor. In short, Murong Yu was a very good person. Continents on the level of Dream Wilderness were as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges. Therefore, when Murong Yu and Fan Tong walked out of the transportation formation, they didn't appear in a large city on Your Wild's continent. Instead, they appeared in a small city. However, even the smallest city on the Eldritch continent was several times larger than the Dream City. Countless experts came and went there. In fact, Fan Tong told Murong Yu that the city lord of this small city was a celestial emperor. On Your Wild's continent, celestial gods were forefathers and could do whatever they wanted. In the Dream Wilderness continent, heavenly emperors were also overlords, ruling over countless large regions. However, in the Eldritch continent, a heavenly emperor was only the city lord of a small city. It was not that a heavenly emperor was too weak, but in the Eldritch continent there were too many heavenly emperors. Even though the prehistoric continent was incomparably vast, it still resulted in a situation where there were too many monks and not enough gruel. Of course, it didn't mean that a brick on the street could knock down a large group of celestial emperors. Instead, it was like the domain of some demonic beast. Every demonic beast had its own domain. It was the same in the primordial continent. Every force had their own territory. For example, the city called Mysterious Moon City in front of them was actually a subordinate city of a certain great power. In the prehistoric continent, the hard currency is still divine crystals and divine meridians. However, in terms of divine crystals, they were at least high-grade divine crystals. Mid- and low-grade divine crystals are too worthless. They are too embarrassed to take them out, Fan Tong explained. Murong Yu revealed a helpless expression. He didn't even have a few divine crystals, let alone divine veins. This was because he didn't bring anything with him when he came out. Under normal circumstances, even if he had divine veins or something like that, it would be useless. As for Fan Tong, Murong Yu didn't even need to ask to know that he didn't have anything. Immediately, the two of them looked at each other with a worried expression. Those bastards only gave us a few dozen low-grade divine veins. They are too stingy. The next time we go back to the Dream Continent, we'll just empty their treasury, Fan Tong suddenly cursed. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. Fan Tong was really a weirdo. People gave him gifts, but he thought it was too little. Those divine veins aren't enough for us to teleport a few times. We can only slowly think of a way, Fan Tong said with a depressed expression. Isn't the Ouyang clan nearby? Didn't you say that the Ouyang clan's relationship with your clan was alright? Why don't we go to the Ouyang clan to take a look? Murong Yu suddenly said. That's not good, right? Fan Tong's eyes flickered, and the expression on his face became even more depressed and awkward. On the way here, Murong Yu found out that Fan Tong was actually related to the Ouyang clan. After Murong Yu's investigation, he finally found out a shocking piece of news. Fan Tong was engaged to a woman from the Ouyang clan. However, Murong Yu didn't know what was going on. Every time they talked about Fan Tong's fiancée, Fan Tong's words were evasive and he didn't want to talk about it. This made Murong Yu secretly guess. Could it be that the woman from the Ouyang clan was as ugly as a dinosaur? Or a tigress? Or was there some other reason? In the end, Murong Yu accidentally found out why Fan Tong appeared in the Dream Continent. This guy actually refused to marry the woman from the Ouyang clan. In the end, his father was furious and slapped him to the Dream Continent. At the same time, he took away all the good things on Fan Tong's body. Furthermore, his father said that Fan Tong could only return home when he was willing to marry. Otherwise, he would never be able to return to the Fan clan. In the end, Murong Yu came to a conclusion. The father and son of the Fan clan were strange existences. The sisters from the Fan clan are actually quite good-looking. I'm willing to go to the Ouyang clan to take a look. Murong Yu chuckled. Let's go to the Divine Union. Fan Tong glared fiercely at Murong Yu and took the lead. The Divine Union is too far from mysterious Moon City. Our holy range isn't enough for teleportation. If we fly there at our speed, it will take a long time. Let's think of a way to get some holy range first. Murong Yu chased after him and said. In fact, with his speed that was comparable to the Heavenly Emperor realm, it was considered fast in the prehistoric continent. It was just that Fan Tong's speed was too horrible to look at. If they wanted to take Fan Tong into the Hichu Luoshu world and let Murong Yu take him away, Fan Tong would definitely not be willing. Why don't we empty the treasury of the new Moon City Lord? Fan Tong stopped and looked at Murong Yu with a smile. How dare you? You even dare to touch the treasury of the City Lord's mansion. Do you want to die? Before Murong Yu could answer, a murderous voice rang in their ears. Murong Yu and Fan Tong were shocked. They instantly raised their strength to the limit and turned their heads to look at the source of the voice. An 18 or 19-year-old youth with delicate features and skin as fair as mutton fat was standing not far from Murong Yu and Jian Wushuang. His eyes were wide open as he stared at the two of them with a murderous aura. The other party's strength was not very strong. He was only in the heavenly god realm. Immediately, Murong Yu and Fan Tong let out a sigh of relief. After all, this kind of thing made them feel guilty. The two looked at each other first, then Fan Tong glared at the youth and said fiercely, "Little girl, go away." You, the youth, or rather, the young girl was furious. She put her hands on her hips and glared at Fan Tong with her phoenix eyes. She said unhappily, "Brat, are you blind? How does this young master look like a woman?" Murong Yu could not help but laugh. "Little girl, your disguise is too bad. As long as one's eyes are not blind, one can see that you are a woman." In fact, Murong Yu had gone a little overboard. Although the young girl's disguise was not very good, it was not something that everyone could see through. Unfortunately, Murong Yu and Fan Tong were not ordinary people. They could see through her disguise at a glance. Yes, your eyes must be blind. Otherwise, why would you think this young master is a woman? The young girl suddenly laughed. Her words made Murong Yu and Fan Tong not know whether to laugh or cry. Go away. Fan Tong waved his hand and was about to leave. I just heard you say that you were going to empty the treasury of the city lord's mansion. If you dare to leave, I will immediately report you. When the time comes, you will end up very miserable. Morong Yu felt a little helpless. Of course, they were not afraid of this girl. Even if she did report them, they did not do anything. What could the city lord do to them? Morong Yu was sure that in the ancient continent, the number of people who dared to touch Fan Tong could be counted on one hand. And those people would definitely not appear in such a remote place like Strange Moon City. However, if you agree to one of my conditions, I can consider not reporting you. What condition? Morong Yu was not in a hurry anyway, so he took the opportunity to ask. The young girl looked at Morong Yu and Fan Tong, and finally said something that made Morong Yu and Fan Tong vomit blood. As long as you bring me along when you take action. Little girl, we are both good youths. We will not do such things. Morong Yu said with a serious face. At the same time, he added in his heart, even if we do it, we will not bring you along. After saying that, Morong Yu and Fan Tong turned and left. The young girl angrily looked at Morong Yu and Fan Tong's backs for a while, and then she chased after them. Thus, Morong Yu and Fan Tong were in front, and the young girl was behind them. When they left, the young girl also left. When they stopped, the young girl also stopped. Aya, it's dark. Let's find an inn to sleep in. Morong Yu suddenly said, and then turned to look at the young girl. Little girl, do you want to sleep together? The young girl was shocked, and her face turned red. Then, she glared fiercely at Morong Yu and said angrily, You two big perverts, who wants to sleep with you? You just said that you are not a girl, and I suddenly feel that I have a good impression of you. Why don't we have a long talk tonight? Morong Yu took a few steps forward, and put his hand on the young girl's shoulder. The young girl was stunned. Then, she suddenly retreated. I suddenly remembered that I have something to do, so I will leave first. You two sleep. Seeing the young girl leave, the smile on Morong Yu's face disappeared. He turned to Fan Tong and asked, What do you think? Although that girl's cultivation is not high, she is definitely a descendant of a big family. She has an expert secretly protecting her. Damn it, my old man is too heartless. Isn't it just rejecting the marriage? He slapped me to the dream wilderness continent, and he didn't even send an expert to protect me. He could have just casually sent a sky venerable to protect me. Fan Tong said, and then couldn't help but curse his old man. On the other hand, Morong Yu staggered. Chapter 902. Kurlan stood at the corner of the street and watched as Morong Yu and Fan Tong walked into an inn. She snorted coldly and said, You two brats. Humph. One day, I will teach you a lesson. Looking at Lon Kier's angry look, the old man and the young man behind her revealed an unrecognizable smile on their faces. As members of the Lon family and Kurlan's bodyguards, the two of them were well aware of Kurlan's unruly character. Furthermore, Kurlan had never been at a disadvantage, not even verbally. However, after encountering Morong Yu and Fan Tong today, not only had her disguise been seen through, but she had also been so frightened that she had fled back. It was really amazing. Miss, do you want me to kill those two brats? The young man asked in a low voice as he took a step forward and suppressed the smile on his face. Kurlan shook her head hurriedly. No, I want to settle this score with them personally. Humph. Let's stay in that inn as well. Kurlan gritted her teeth and walked towards the inn where Morong Yu and Fan Tong were staying. In the inn, Morong Yu was consulting Fan Tong. What level of power is the Divine Union in the Eldritch Continent? What about the Heavenly Punisher Palace, Devil Sect, Immortal Palace, and so on? Fan Tong was born in a big power, so he had an unimaginable understanding of the Eldritch Continent. He said without hesitation, the Divine Union also has heavenly venerate powerhouses. It can be considered a superpower in the Eldritch Continent. However, there is still a big gap between it and some Overlord-level powers. As for the Heavenly Punisher Palace, It is many times stronger than the divine union. It is an overlord-level power in the eldritch continent. On the contrary, the immortal palace and devil sect are about the same as the divine union. In the divine world, these superpowers are as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges River. Murong-Yu nodded his head, but he was speechless in his heart. These were all his enemies, and all of them were so strong. It was really incredible. Fan Tong suddenly reacted. He looked at Murong-Yu and asked, "Oh, right? Many great powers have their own orthodoxies in the immortal plane. Didn't you know that you destroyed the orthodoxies of the Heavenly Punisher Palace and the others?" Murong-Yu nodded his head and spoke bluntly, without hiding anything. The Immortal Palace, Devil Sect, and Sacred Sect. The Heavenly Punisher Palace has a terrifying background. It is an overlord-level power in the Eldritch continent. Even other overlord-class forces wouldn't dare to offend the Heavenly Punisher Palace. Murong-Yu lightly nodded his head. He naturally knew how frightening the Heavenly Punisher Palace was. However, strictly speaking, the palace was actually his, because he had the Heavenly Punisher token. However, if Murong-Yu were to run to the Heavenly Punishing Palace, take out the Heavenly Punishing Medallion, and announce that the Heavenly Punishing Palace now belonged to him, Murong-Yu would definitely be slapped to death by the disciples of the Heavenly Punishing Palace and snatch the medallion. The Heavenly Punisher Palace has branches in many cities in the Eldritch continent. I think Mysterious Moon City should have one too. Why don't we pay a visit to their treasury? Fan Tong's eyes lit up. Good idea. Murong-Yu immediately made his decision. After that, they left the inn and started to wander aimlessly around Strange Moon City. Actually, they were observing the terrain. Not long after, they found the Heavenly Punisher Palace's branch in Mysterious Moon City. Powerful auras came from inside. There should be many Heavenly King Realm experts. A branch of this level shouldn't have anything good in their treasury. But it's better than nothing. Murong-Yu was disappointed to find that there were no experts in the Heavenly Punisher Palace. That night, Murong-Yu sent Fan Tong into the world of He Tu and Luo Shu. Then, with a flash of his body, he teleported to a small alley near the Heavenly Punisher Palace's branch. After appearing, Murong-Yu turned invisible and quietly entered the Heavenly Punisher Palace's branch. The strongest in the Heavenly Punisher Palace's branch was only at the Heavenly King Realm. It was impossible for experts of this level to discover the invisible Murong-Yu. Therefore, Murong-Yu swaggered into their treasury. This Heavenly Punisher Palace's branch is too poor. There's nothing from before. Seeing that there were only a few trillion high-quality divine crystals, a pitiful amount of top-quality divine crystals and tens of thousands of low-quality divine veins in the treasury, Fan Tong was disappointed. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Murong-Yu didn't reject anything that came his way. With a wave of his hand, he stored everything in the treasury into the He Tu and Luo Shu worlds, regardless of what it was. Too ruthless. But I like it. Fan Tong laughed loudly. Then, he and Murong-Yu entered the He-Chu Luoshu world and left the treasury. From the beginning to the end, the people of the Heavenly Punisher Palace didn't know that their treasury had been emptied. Unless someone entered the treasury, no one would find out. Bang! 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 Just as Murong-Yu and Fan Tong appeared in the inn's room, the door was slammed so hard that it seemed like it was about to explode. Immediately, Murong-Yu and Fan Tong were startled. They thought that the people of the Heavenly Punisher Palace had come to kill them. However, after scanning with their divine senses, they looked at each other and smiled. "Little girl, are you here to serve me?" Murong-Yu opened the door and looked at Kurlan, who was dressed in men's clothes, with a smile on his face. "Bah!" Kurlan glared at Murong-Yu. In her heart, she wanted to punch and kick Murong-Yu. She wanted to beat his handsome face into a pig's head. "You must have gained a lot, right?" Kurlan glared at Murong-Yu and then directly entered Murong-Yu's room. However, her words caused Morong Yu and Li Chia to jump in laughter. Little girl, what did you gain? Fan Tong stared at Kurlan without blushing or skipping a beat, playing dumb. Humph. Don't think that I don't know what you're doing. I've been knocking on the door for a long time. If you didn't sneak out to do something shady, then… At this point, Lan Kier's face turned red. Her gaze kept darting back and forth between Morong Yu and Fan Tong. The meaning behind her words was self-evident. This handsome guy only likes beautiful women. Little girl, although your appearance is a bit ordinary, it's not that bad. Are you automatically delivering yourself to my door to serve me? Do you fancy this handsome guy or my brother? After knowing that Kurlan didn't know that the two of them went to the Heavenly Penalty Palace's treasury, Fan Tong immediately teased. Little boy, if you dare to say this again, do you believe that I won't castrate you? Let you become a eunuch forever? Kurlan was furious. Her pair of beautiful eyes emitted a strong murderous aura as she looked at Fan Tong's crotch. In an instant, Fan Tong felt that his crotch was cold. Then, the three of them were stunned. Morong Yu and Fan Tong looked at each other. They felt that Kurlan was really powerful. Lan Kier's pretty face was flushed red from embarrassment. She was also stunned by her sudden toughness. For a moment, everyone was silent. The atmosphere fell into a strange silence. After a long time, Morong Yu helplessly said to Kurlan, "Little girl, you didn't come here in the middle of the night just to castrate Fan Tong, right?" Fan Tong? Kurlan was suddenly stunned. Then, she pointed at Fan Tong with a look of disbelief and asked, "You said he is called Rice Bucket? You are that Rice Bucket from the Fan family?" This time, it was Morong Yu's turn to be depressed. Fan Tong seemed to be very famous? How could anyone who came here know him? "Do I know you?" Fan Tong also looked at Kurlan with some depression. "Ha ha ha!" Kurlan suddenly laughed. In the end, she put her hands on her hips and laughed towards the sky. That attitude of hers made Morong Yu and Li Wuyo feel so ashamed that they couldn't even show their faces. "Miss Lady. When Kurlan put her hands on her hips and laughed towards the sky, she suddenly heard the voice of her old bodyguard, Lan Hong. Feeling that she had lost her composure, Kurlan's laughter was instantly extinguished. Her hands were also put down from her waist. Fan Tong, the third young master of the Fan family. He was engaged to the flower of the Ouyang family, Ouyang Fei, but the night before the wedding, he suddenly regretted it. In the end, his father was furious and was almost slapped to death. In the end, he was sent to the Dream Wasteland. "Why did you come back to the Great Wasteland?" That's not right. The intelligence said that you were with that homicidal maniac Morong Yu, and that your relationship was very close. Could it be that you are that homicidal maniac Morong Yu? Kurlan suddenly turned around and looked at Morong Yu with a face of shock. At the same time, two faintly discernible spiritual senses instantly locked onto Morong Yu. Obviously, it was Kurlan's two bodyguards. Once Morong Yu showed the slightest bit of murderous intent, those two would definitely kill Morong Yu at the first moment. Morong Yu frowned slightly. He hated this kind of situation the most in his life. However, the miss was by his side. As bodyguards, they should be like this. Therefore, Morong Yu only frowned slightly and did not act out. That's not right. Wasn't Morong Yu killed in the Heavenly Chasm? How could you still be here? You shouldn't be Morong Yu. Who are you? When Morong Yu was thinking about how to arrange an identity for himself, Kurlan had already denied Morong Yu's true identity. This let him breathe a sigh of relief. "I am Zhao Yimu," Morong Yu said faintly. "You are really not Morong Yu." Kurlan looked at Morong Yu with disappointment on her face. However, she quickly reacted. "You are all friends of the homicidal maniac Morong Yu, right? You should be very clear about what happened to Morong Yu in the Heavenly Chasm, right? Do you want to tell me?" "Not interested," Morong Yu and Fan Tong said in unison. Then, Fan Tong frowned and looked at Kurlan. "Who are you? Why do you know me? Do you know about me?" Who doesn't know about you? Lon Kier glanced at Fan Tong. You're famous in certain circles, but you're not. Rice Bucket. Right, let me introduce myself. My name is Kurlon, a member of the Lon family. I don't know you. Murong Yu and Fan Tong said in unison again. It was just that Murong Yu really didn't know her. However, although Fan Tong didn't know Kurlon, he knew the existence of the Lon family. Chapter 903. Little girl, if there's nothing else, go back and wash up before you sleep. Don't tell me you really want to stay here and serve me? Fan Tong rolled his eyes and chased the shocked Kurlon away. Idiot! You actually don't recognize me, you're really pissing me off. Kurlon suddenly flipped out and looked at Fan Tong angrily. Fan Tong and Murong Yu looked at each other, not knowing why Kurlon suddenly went crazy. It's fine if Zhao Yumu doesn't recognize me, but you actually said you don't know me as well. How preposterous. I originally had something good to share with you, but I'll forget about it now. Kurlon glared fiercely at Fan Tong and Murong Yu, then turned to leave. What good news? Hearing that there was good news, Fan Tong's eyes immediately lit up and stopped Kurlon. Sister, I don't want to tell you. Kurlon looked angry. Then you can go back. Fan Tong turned sideways and gestured for Kurlon to leave. Kurlon coldly snorted and strode out. However, she quickly returned. All right, there's no harm in telling you. The holy saliva fruit will appear soon. I passed by this place because of the holy saliva fruit. Holy saliva fruit? Is it really the holy saliva fruit? Fan Tong's eyes shone brightly, a look of greed on his face. This was the first time Murong Yu saw greed on Fan Tong's face. That's right, it said that it'll appear soon. Are you guys interested in going together? Kurlon frowned and said. Of course, we're interested. Where is it? Fan Tong immediately asked. I'm not telling you. You just have to come with me tomorrow. Kurlon coldly snorted. Then, like a proud phoenix, she raised her proud head and left their room. Fan Tong, what is this saint saliva fruit? You actually put on such an appearance? Murong Yu couldn't help asking after Lon Kier left. The holy saliva fruit, as its name suggests, is a holy fruit born from the saliva of a saint. It's the most delicious holy fruit in the divine realm, second to none, Fan Tong said with glowing eyes. A holy fruit born from the saliva of a saint? Doesn't that mean we have to eat other people's saliva? Murong Yu's face was filled with astonishment. At the same time, he felt disgusted. Fan Tong immediately looked at Murong Yu with disdain. Brother, I told you that you're inexperienced. But I don't blame you. But as you know, even a mouthful of our saliva can make a mortal ascend and become an immortal. Even to immortals, our saliva is a great supplement. Murong Yu nodded. Gods and immortals were not on the same level. In front of gods, immortals were just mortals. Moreover, a god's physical body and everything on it contained the god's understanding of the laws. Everything contained an extremely large amount of energy. If an immortal obtained a mouthful of saliva from a god, as long as he refined it, he could greatly increase his cultivation and realm, and even his understanding of the laws. A god's saliva could be treated as a treasure by an immortal. Do you know what a saint is? It's like the difference between gods and immortals. However, the difference between a saint and a god is even greater than the difference between a god and an immortal. A saint is an unparalleled expert who has surpassed the heavenly venerate realm. Legend has it that only by reaching the saint realm can one truly live as long as the heavens and earth and be immortal. In front of a saint, whether it's a god or an immortal, they are all ant-like existences. However, a god is just a slightly bigger ant. Thump! Murong Yu's heart twitched violently. He had always thought that the heavenly venerate realm was the pinnacle of cultivation, the end of cultivation. However, there were still saints above the heavenly venerate realm? Then all of this would be easy to explain. Why did Hichu not tell Murongyu about Zhao Yun's enemy for so long? Murongyu had originally thought that Zhao Yun's enemy was some kind of major power. Now, it seemed that Zhao Yun's enemy was not a god, but a saint. Moreover, it was very likely that he was a peak existence among saints. Such a supreme existence was not something that Murongyu could know. If he knew, perhaps those high and mighty saints would sense it and blow a breath from far away in space and time, blowing Murongyu to smithereens. The saliva of a saint is a treasure that even heavenly venerate realm experts dream of, because it contains the power of a saint, the control and understanding of power of a saint. As for the saint's saliva fruit, legend has it that it is a strange fruit that grows after absorbing the saliva of a saint. It will only appear in the world when it is ripe, and the time is extremely short. The strangest thing is that the saint's saliva fruit will appear in different places every time. After a short period of time, regardless of whether the saint's saliva fruit has been plucked by someone, it will disappear immediately. Even heavenly venerate realm experts are unable to restrain it. However, when the saint's saliva fruit is about to ripen, it will constantly emit a unique fragrance that attracts people. It is also because of this that people know about the saint's saliva fruit's appearance. Otherwise, no one would know where the saint's saliva fruit will appear. Other than being the most delicious saint fruit in the god realm, the saint's saliva fruit also contains a trace of the saint's understanding of the world and a trace of the saint's power. These are things that even heavenly venerates dream of. Therefore, when the saint's saliva fruit appears this time, many immortal venerates will definitely come. However, no matter how Fan Tong exaggerated how delicious the saint's saliva fruit was and what heaven-defying effects it had, Murongyu felt a little disgusted. He did not have the habit of eating other people's saliva. However, if the saint's saliva fruit really had such heaven-defying effects, Murongyu could not let it go for nothing. With invisibility, teleportation, and Hichu Luoshu, even if he was in the hands of a group of heavenly venerate realm experts, Murongyu was confident that he could get a share of the loot. The next day, without waiting for Kurlan to come find them, Fan Tong had already dragged Murongyu to Kurlan's room excitedly to wait. However, Kurlan's speed could be said to be extremely slow. Perhaps this was a common problem for women. Murongyu and Fan Tong stared outside her room for a long time before Kurlan slowly walked out. When Kurlan appeared in front of them, Murongyu and Fan Tong's eyes instantly lit up. At this time, Kurlan had already changed back to women's clothing. She was wearing a pale yellow long dress. Her skin was creamy, and she had a face that could captivate birds and beasts. It could be said that she was an outstanding beauty. Moreover, Kurlan's entire body emitted the aura of a noble family's young lady. A faint smile hung on her face from beginning to end. She was youthful and incomparably pure. However, Murongyu and Fan Tong were only surprised for a moment. Thinking of Kurlan's appearance last night with her hands on her hips and laughing at the sky, they definitely would not be deceived by Kurlan's seemingly pure appearance again. Seeing Murongyu and Fan Tong's stunned appearance, Kurlan was extremely pleased in her heart. After all, her looks could be considered an outstanding beauty. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was unmatched in her generation. However, which man who had seen her true appearance had not been mesmerized by her? Very quickly, Kurlan noticed that the stunned look on Murongyu and Fan Tong's faces had disappeared. They had instantly returned to their usual calm. Kurlan was instantly displeased. She then smiled and walked in front of Murongyu and Fan Tong. With a pure smile on her face, she asked, "Am I beautiful?" If it had been anyone else, perhaps they would have been completely mesmerized by Kurlan's smile. However, Murongyu and Fan Tong were not fond of women's charms. Furthermore, after witnessing Kurlan's true appearance, they were basically immune to Kurlan's pure appearance. Ha ha ha! Fan Tong did not speak. Instead, he suddenly put his hands on his hips and laughed into the sky. That posture was exactly the same as when Kurlan had laughed into the sky last night. The only difference was that it was a different person. Murong Yu pointed at Fan Tong and said expressionlessly, "Your appearance last night has left a deep impression on us." Kurlan was instantly stunned. She then glared at Murong Yu and Fan Tong, her eyes spitting fire. She gritted her teeth and said, "Would it kill you to forget what happened last night?" However, her heart was filled with tears. "My image has been ruined. My apologies, we're all gods. We all have a photographic memory." Fan Tong replied calmly, "All right, your appearance is indeed not bad. You're an outstanding beauty. You can mesmerize people who don't know your true appearance." Humph! Kurlan snorted coldly in annoyance and left the tavern first. Soon after, Murong Yu and the other two also followed. As for Kurlan's two bodyguards, they were hidden in the shadows. "Zhao Yumu, am I beautiful? How about I become your wife?" Kurlan was fuming. She walked in front of Murong Yu and Fan Tong like a proud phoenix, not saying a word. After walking like this for half a day, Kurlan suddenly stopped. She turned to look at Murong Yu and asked with a smile that could topple cities. Murong Yu spat out the water he drank last night. Fan Tong and Kurlan's two bodyguards also staggered and almost fell to the ground. "What? Isn't it good to have such a beautiful woman as your wife?" Kurlan still had a smile on her face. Coupled with her pure appearance, it was needless to say how tempting she was. "Ha ha ha!" Murong Yu didn't speak, but Fan Tong couldn't help but laugh. "Rice bucket, what are you laughing at? I'm not going to be your wife." Kurlan glared at him angrily. "My brother has 3 wives. None of them are inferior to you in terms of appearance. Moreover, his first wife is 10 times more beautiful than you. No, it should be 100 times more beautiful." Kurlan was stunned for a moment. She then pointed at Murong Yu with a look of disdain. "You big pervert." However, she turned to look at Fan Tong. "Are his wives really that beautiful? That's impossible. None of them are inferior to you. Moreover, you really aren't as beautiful as his first wife. So, you'd better save it and stop trying to seduce him. He's not interested in you." Fan Tong chuckled. In fact, Fan Tong wasn't exaggerating. Zhao Jiqing and the other two were not inferior to Kurlan in terms of appearance. Moreover, Zhao Jiqing was indeed more beautiful than Kurlan. Chapter 904. "Zhao Yumu, are your wives really prettier than me? This shouldn't be true, right? How can your wives be prettier than me? Can you bring me to meet them?" Along the way, Kurlan kept circling around Murong Yu, asking this question over and over again, making Murong Yu and Fan Tong both toothache endlessly. However, Murong Yu did not answer a single one of her questions. Even if he answered these questions, who knew what other questions Kurlan would have? On the contrary, in this process, Murong Yu got Fan Tong to talk about his fiancée from her mouth, whom Fan Tong had always been unwilling to talk about. Ouyang Fei, the #1 person in the Ouyang family's younger generation, an existence at the level of a peerless genius. About the same age as Fan Tong, and she was also not inferior to Kurlan. But her strength was much stronger than Fan Tong. It was said that she had already reached the late stage of the Heavenly Emperor realm. In fact, it was said that Ouyang Fei's strength had already broken through to the immemorial god realm. She had a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city and a strength close to the peak of the divine realm. Coupled with Ouyang Fei's terrifying background, Murong Yu believed that Ouyang Fei was the dream lover of countless men in the divine realm. Countless men wanted to marry Ouyang Fei back home. Speaking without any exaggeration, if Ouyang Fei said that she wanted to choose a husband, then the people who applied could probably line up from the great desolate continent to the dream desolate continent. However, Murong Yu understood why Fan Tong rejected the marriage. The Fan family was even a bit stronger than the Ouyang family. It was precisely because of this colossus that the Ouyang family did not dare to do anything to Fan Tong even if the marriage was rejected. Otherwise, would Fan Tong dare to reject the marriage? The two of them could be said to be well matched in terms of social status. However, Fan Tong was only in the heavenly deity realm. In fact, not long ago, Fan Tong was only in the true God realm, as a man, only in the true God realm. And marrying an immemorial God realm powerhouse as his wife? Although both of them were ranked at the second level of the realm pyramid. However, Ouyang Fei was on the second floor, while Fan Tong was on the second last floor. It was easy to imagine the pressure. Or perhaps, many people thought that marrying such a strong person as their wife was definitely a good thing. However, any man would more or less be a male chauvinist. If the difference in strength wasn't too big, then it wouldn't matter. However, the gap between them was too big. Fan Tong couldn't even lift his head in front of Ouyang Fei. Therefore, even after they were married, their lives would not be happy. "Brother, my condolences." Murong Yu patted Fan Tong's shoulder and said. Fan Tong immediately glared at Murong Yu. "What are you mourning for? It's not like anyone died." However, Murong Yu saw a trace of loneliness in Fan Tong's eyes. Presumably, he also liked Ouyang Fei. However, Fan Tong's father was truly a weirdo. They would focus on nurturing the children of ordinary clans. They would desperately pile all kinds of treasures on them. However, Fan Tong's father never gave him special treatment. In fact, Fan Tong's two older brothers were the same. Fan Tong's father was the same. Their family needed to grow up like ordinary people. Only in this way could they have greater achievements. Of course, if they couldn't break through and their lifespan ran out and died, then so be it. Regarding this, Murong Yu admired the people of the Fan clan. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't be able to do this. Didn't you see that Murong Yu often gave special treatment to his 4 children? Kurlan looked at Fan Tong with disdain. "Rice bucket, you're too useless. Are you afraid to marry Sister Ouyang Fei? Little brat, don't be nosy." Fan Tong waved his hand. "How am I small?" Kurlan puffed up her chest and looked at Fan Tong angrily. It's not small." Fan Tong stared at her chest and nodded slightly. Kurlan instantly retreated. Tianbao City was a small city like Mysterious Moon City. However, Tianbao City was many times more lively than Mysterious Moon City. Walking on the streets, one would often see experts coming and going. In the Mysterious Moon City, one could occasionally see Heavenly Monarch and Heavenly King Realm experts on the street. In the Heavenly Protection City, there were a lot of Heavenly King Realm experts, and even Heavenly Emperor Realm experts would occasionally flash by. This was because of the Saint Saliva fruit, which attracted many people from nearby. However, the Great Wasteland continent was simply too big. The disappearance of the Saint Saliva fruit's appearance had not yet spread. In the Great Wasteland continent there were very few people. If it wasn't a big matter, the speed at which it spread was not fast. Even so, the experts in the surrounding area rushed over one after another. Of course, those experts below the Heavenly Emperor realm were just there to watch. It was impossible for them to obtain the Saint Saliva fruit. They were just there to join in the fun. In fact, when Murong Yu approached Tianbao City, he'd already caught a whiff of the faint fragrance in the air. This fragrance was indeed very tempting. However, when he thought about how the Saint Saliva fruit was nurtured by the saliva of a saint, Murong Yu had no appetite at all. Although the entire Tianbao City and the surrounding areas were filled with the fragrance of the Saint Saliva fruit, the fragrance was erratic. However, the fragrance was erratic, and it was impossible to determine the location of the Saint Saliva fruit. This was because the appearance of the Saint Saliva fruit was random. "We can only wait in Tianbao City. With so many people, I'm afraid we won't even have a place to stay." Fan Tong frowned slightly. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's find an inn first." Kurlan glared at Fan Tong. She seemed to dislike Fan Tong very much. Immediately, the group walked towards the inn. Sister Ouyang. Suddenly, Kurlan, who was walking in front, exclaimed. Then, she turned into a ray of light and flew forward. Thump! In an instant, Murong Yu and Fan Tong's hearts twitched violently. Fan Tong's heart twitched because he was worried that they would meet Ouyang Fei. There were many people in the realm of the gods with the surname Ouyang. However, there were probably not many people who could be called sister by Kurlan. Ouyang Fei was definitely one of them. Murong Yu, on the other hand, was afraid of meeting the Ouyang sisters. Of course, he was not afraid of them. However, if he met them, the fact that Murong Yu was still alive would be exposed. Murong Yu's heart skipped a beat. His body flashed and he was about to escape. However, at this moment, 3 gazes pierced through space and shot towards Murong Yu's face. Murong Yu's figure came to a halt as a bitter smile appeared on his face. Sisters, what's wrong? After Kurlan flew in front of Ouyang Yen and the other two, she did not see the smiles that Ouyang Yen and Tong Tong usually had when they met. On the contrary, she realized that Ouyang Yen, Ouyang Tong, and even the old man beside them were looking behind her with shocked and strange expressions. Following their gazes, Kurlan immediately discovered Murong Yu. However, she thought that old man Pei and the other two were looking at Fan Tong. That Fan Tong, sisters. Do you want to capture him? Kurlan said with a smile. Ku'er, how did you get together with that guy? Ouyang Tong asked somewhat urgently. We accidentally met in mysterious Moon City. Humph, Fan Tong is the young master of the Fan family. At that time, this guy even wanted to steal something from the mysterious Moon City's city lord's treasury. Ku'er, we're not talking about Fan Tong. We're talking about another person. It's that Murong Yu. What Murong Yu? What? You're saying that big pervert is that homicidal maniac? Kurlan was instantly stunned. Then, she fiercely turned her head to look at Murong Yu and Ouyang Tong who were striding over. She said with a murderous aura, Big pervert, homicidal maniac, why did you lie to me? Who knew that Murong Yu would directly ignore her and look at old man Pei and the Ouyang sisters. He smiled and said, Old man Pei, 2 beauties, long time no see. Brat, you really didn't die? Haha, I knew it. Old man Pei laughed, not caring about his image. On the contrary, the Ouyang sisters looked at Murong Yu in shock, almost touching him with their hands. At that time, they had personally seen Murong Yu being destroyed by the tribulation lightning. Not even a trace of him was left. Old man Pei, you call yourself a godly doctor. How can you curse someone to death when you meet them? You don't have the heart of a doctor at all. Murong Yu glared at old man Pei and said, Fan Tong greets divine Dr. Pei. Fan Tong bowed respectfully to old man Pei, which was rare for him to be so formal. Good brat, you have a bright future. Haha. Godly Dr. Pei patted Fan Tong's shoulder and laughed loudly. Fan Tong, on the other hand, had an awkward expression on his face as he greeted the Ouyang sisters. Ouyang Tong and Ouyang Tong did not blame Fan Tong. On the contrary, the two of them kept sizing up Murong Yu with curiosity. Big pervert, homicidal maniac, you haven't answered my question. Kurlan saw that everyone was ignoring her, and she put her hands on her waist to make her presence known. Kur, when did he become a pervert? Did he molest you? Ouyang Tong pulled Kurlan over and asked with a smile. Kurlan's charming face turned red. Fan Tong interrupted and said, This little brat did say that she wanted to be Murong Yu's wife. It's a pity that Murong Yu's wives are all prettier than her. Good for nothing. Shut up. Kurlan's face turned red. She was only joking when she said those words to tease Murong Yu. Now that Fan Tong said that, she felt that she was a little. Big Miss Lan, you were the one who denied my identity. Even if I said that I was Murong Yu, you wouldn't believe me, right? Murong Yu said with a smile. Kurlan was stunned. That seemed to be the case. However, she was still a little unhappy. She felt that Murong Yu had lied to her. Alright, let's go to the restaurant first. Brat, this old man still has something to ask you. Old Man Pei said and walked towards the restaurant behind him. Humph, big pervert, homicidal maniac, I will settle your debt with you later. After saying that, Kurlan raised her arrogant head and walked into the restaurant like a proud phoenix. Chapter 905. In the restaurant, everyone was eating and drinking as they chatted and laughed. Other than Murongyu, Fan Tong and Kurlan were a little reserved. After all, Old Man Pei was a renowned miracle doctor in the divine world. Even the experts of the older generation had to be respectful to him, let alone them. In fact, Fan Tong and Murongyu had the same personality. However, since Old Man Pei was acquainted with his father, he could only be respectful to him. During the meal, Old Man Pei asked about Murongyu. Murongyu could only smile and gloss over it casually. After all, it wasn't appropriate for too many people to know that he had Hichu Luoshu. Stingy. Kurlan glared at Murongyu and said in disdain. She was very interested in how Murongyu had survived the terrifying heavenly tribulation. However, Murongyu had always avoided the important matters. Or rather, he'd simply let her have her way, which made her extremely displeased. Oh right, Old Man Pei, didn't you say that you were going to the Ouyang clan? Why did you run out again? Murongyu didn't believe that Old Man Pei and the Ouyang sisters had rushed back from the toxic continent at such a speed. Sigh, don't mention it. As the saying goes, people make mistakes and horses stumble. This old man has embarrassed himself this time. Old Man Pei said helplessly. What happened? Murongyu asked in surprise. At the same time, he looked at the Ouyang sisters. He knew that this matter might have something to do with the Ouyang clan. Old Man Pei has a strange illness. Previously, we had invited many miracle doctors to no avail. This time, Miracle Dr. Pei is also helpless. Ouyang Yen sighed and said. The news of Old Man Pei's illness had spread throughout the divine world. Even the Ouyang clan had issued a reward for finding a miracle doctor. Therefore, Ouyang Yen didn't hide this matter from Old Man Pei. After all, Murongyu only needed to ask around a little to find out. Old Man Pei, didn't you say that your medical skills are amazing? What exactly happened? Murongyu looked at Old Man Pei in shock. Although he often expressed his disdain for Old Man Pei's medical skills, he knew that Old Man Pei was a genius. However, he also knew that Old Man Pei's medical skills were not just for show. There's nothing wrong with the old man's health. However, his strength continued to decline. It was as if it had been devoured by something. Even with the old man's strength, he could not detect it. Even Divine Dr. Pei and the rest can't tell anything. Ouyang Tong said. Is he poisoned? Murongyu frowned slightly. If he wasn't poisoned, then there must be a powerful life form sealed in the old man's body, and that life form was devouring the old man's power to strengthen itself. However, if he were to devour, he would only be able to devour power. He would not be able to weaken or even destroy a person's realm. Then, it was very likely that he had been poisoned. I might have been poisoned, but I can't tell, Old Man Pei said unhappily. A cold light flashed across Murongyu's brows. He had encountered such a situation before. Back in the immortal world, wasn't Old Man Shangguan in the same situation? However, if Old Man Ouyang was really poisoned, then the poison must be very scary. After all, if even Old Man Pei could not tell, then it must be very scary. A doctor was not only proficient in medical skills, but also in the art of poison. After the matter of the saint's saliva fruit, I'll make a trip to the Ouyang family. If Old Man Ouyang is really poisoned, I might have a solution. Murongyu's indifferent words were like a tossed stone that caused 10,000 ripples. His words instantly stunned everyone around him. Pervert, murderous demon. Are you saying that you're a divine doctor? A divine doctor who is even more brilliant than Divine Dr. Pei? Kurlan immediately expressed her disdain for Morongyu. Fan Tong looked at Morongyu in shock. He did not know that Morongyu was also proficient in medical skills. The Ouyang sisters were also shocked. Like Kurlan, they were filled with disbelief. Only Old Man Pei's eyes were flickering. No one knew what he was thinking. Old Man Pei was different from the Ouyang family, Fan Tong, and the rest. He knew that Morongyu had 3 godheads. Furthermore, Morongyu had managed to survive the apocalyptic heavenly tribulation and even increased his strength. He couldn't see through Morongyu at all. Now that he heard Morongyu's words, a thought appeared in Old Man Pei's mind. He chose to believe in Morongyu. All right, after this matter, I'll bring you to the Ouyang family. Old Man Pei made his decision. He did not even wait for the Ouyang sisters to question him. The Ouyang sisters looked at each other. They did not believe Morongyu's words. However, since Old Man Pei had made his decision, they did not say anything else. Pervert, murderous demon, are you trying to build a good relationship with the Ouyang family? Lan Qir glared at Morongyu with her beautiful eyes and looked at him with disdain. The Ouyang sisters also looked at Morongyu. Their eyes flickered. Obviously, they had the same idea as Kurlan. Morongyu glared at Kurlan. Then, he pointed at Old Man Pei and Fan Tong and said slowly, I have these 2 powerful backers. Who in the god world would dare to touch me? The 3 girls fell silent. With the relationship between Fan Tong and Morongyu, Fan Tong would definitely support Morongyu. On the other hand, there was a high chance that the Fan family would support Morongyu. As for Old Man Pei, he had wanted to take Morongyu as his disciple long ago in the Toxic Continent. He would definitely protect Morongyu. In this way, Morongyu's backers were unbelievably powerful. Brother, do you really have medical skills? Don't make the world laugh at you. Fan Tong knew that Morongyu wasn't the kind of person who would look for backers. He only looked at Morongyu with suspicion. If Morongyu was just boasting, he would be laughed at by the world. Didn't I tell you that I was the #1 genius doctor in the immortal world? Morongyu looked at Fan Tong and suddenly laughed. The first reason he went to the Ouyang family was because of the Ouyang family's old man. He wanted to see if his life force could detect it. The second reason was also because of Fan Tong. He could see that Fan Tong liked Ouyang Fei. However, the difference in strength between the 2 was too big. Fan Tong couldn't bear it. Actually, these were all psychological problems. Morongyu wanted to help Fan Tong overcome this psychological barrier. As they spoke, a phenomenon that was countless times stronger than before suddenly assaulted their nostrils. Moreover, the fragrance was getting stronger and stronger. The holy saliva fruit is about to appear. Immediately, everyone stood up abruptly and soared into the air, flying towards the direction of the strange fragrance. Old Man Pei was just about to lift Morongyu and Fan Tong up and rush to the location of the holy saliva fruit as fast as he could. However, at that moment, he saw a pair of flawless white wings appear on Morongyu's body. They emitted a faint, supreme aura. Morongyu grabbed Fan Tong, who was still in a daze. Then, he flapped his angelic wings and teleported with a whoosh. Morongyu and Fan Tong disappeared from the sight of Old Man Pei and the others. Seeing Morongyu's frightening speed, Old Man Pei, the Ouyang sisters, and the others all had expressions of shock and disbelief. As for Kurlan, she was so angry that she didn't know what to say. This kid really has more and more secret. Old Man Pei didn't hesitate any longer. He also disappeared from Tianbao City. Following which, the Ouyang sisters and Kurlan also flew towards the direction of the holy saliva fruit with the help of her 2 bodyguards. Brother, your speed. Isn't it too scary? Even divine Dr. Pei was left behind by you? On the way, Fan Tong looked at Morongyu in shock. One had to know that Morongyu was in the same realm as him. They were both heaven gods. However, the difference in speed was like heaven and earth. The difference was too big. It can only be for a short period of time. If I were to fly for a long period of time, I wouldn't be able to reach such a speed. Morong Yu explained. This was because he couldn't use instant shift for a long period of time. That would consume too much energy. If you were to teleport over a long period of time, it would be even more unbelievable. Fan Tong rolled his eyes. He was shocked. However, he really liked Morong Yu. After all, the more techniques Morong Yu had, the stronger he was, the stronger his ability to protect himself. He didn't want to see Morong Yu being chased to death. Morong Yu's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he had traversed more than 1,000,000,000 miles. However, the holy saliva fruit was too far away from Tianbao City. After a long time, Morong Yu and Old Man Pei stopped in the void. At that moment they came to a small hill. The hillside had already been surrounded by countless people, both inside and outside. Moreover, there were many experts flying over from all directions. On top of a small hill, an ordinary-looking tree that was about the height of a human stood there quietly, swaying in the wind. At a glance, the small tree was filled with green and white fruits the size of a fist. There was a dense fog, and the intoxicating fragrance was coming from these fruit. These ordinary-looking fruits were the legendary holy saliva fruit. They were fruits nurtured by the sage's saliva. At this moment, no one dared to go near the hillside. All of them were staring at the saint's saliva fruits with greedy looks on their faces. The holy saliva fruit wasn't fully ripe yet. Before that, it wouldn't have any effect even if one ate it. Moreover, the taste was still a little unripe. It couldn't be compared to a ripe holy saliva fruit. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. More and more people were attracted by the fragrance. At a glance, there were already hundreds of millions of people nearby. Moreover, all of them were very powerful. Cultivators at Morong Yu's level could be counted on one hand. After all, if they weren't brought over by experts, they wouldn't be able to get close in a short period of time. The people who appeared here now were the people who were originally in the vicinity. However, these weak people were like a lone boat in a stormy sea in front of those experts who were emitting terrifying auras. They could be torn apart at any time. Those experts only needed to release a little bit of their aura to kill them. Therefore, they kept retreating. They were destined to be bystanders. Chapter 906. Morong Yu and Fan Tong, on the other hand, were two special cases. They stood motionless in front of the small hill like two sacred mountains. However, the surrounding experts only glanced at them and did not do anything. After all, no one thought that two sky gods could snatch the holy saliva fruits from them. Perverted murderer, how can you be so fast? At that moment, Old Man Pei and the rest finally arrived. As Morong Yu and Fan Tong were really like cranes in a flock of chickens, they found them effortlessly. Kurlan immediately criticized Morong Yu. From the looks of it, she could not wait to beat Morong Yu up. Morong Yu only glanced at Kurlan indifferently, then looked at the holy saliva fruits on the hill. At that moment, half of the holy saliva fruits had turned white. As long as all of them turned white, the holy saliva fruits would be considered fully ripe. At that time, it would be time for everyone to show their abilities. I didn't expect to attract so many experts. I'm afraid we won't be able to get anything this time, Ouyang Yin said regretfully. Both of them were heavenly emperors, but there were a large group of heavenly emperors nearby, and there was no lack of primordial god realm experts. There were even many heavenly venerate experts. Only heavenly venerate experts were qualified to fight for the holy saliva fruit. The others were just bystanders. They did not even have the right to fight for it. Is there any way? Fan Tong elbowed Morong and asked in a low voice. Morong Yu did not say anything. He just looked at the holy saliva fruits quietly. Fan Tong's words attracted the attention of some of the people around him. However, when the crowd saw that it was only two sky gods, they could not help but want to laugh out loud. In front of so many super experts, Two sky gods asked if there was any way to get the holy saliva fruit. Were these two fellows here to be funny? Not to mention them, even the Ouyang sisters wouldn't believe it. Kurlan glared at Morongyu with disdain. He clearly felt that Morongyu was spouting nonsense. In fact, Morongyu did not even say anything, let alone that he was confident in obtaining the holy saliva fruit. It was simply an unexpected disaster. Only Old Man Pei looked at Morongyu with sparkling eyes. He felt that Morongyu was becoming more and more mysterious. If Morongyu said that he could snatch these holy saliva fruits, he would choose to believe him. At this moment, a crazy idea flashed through Morongyu's mind. He was calculating his chances of snatching some holy saliva fruit. At this point, 2/3 of the holy saliva fruit had turned white. It was about to fully mature. Each and every one of them had already raised their strength to the limit, and a great battle was about to break out. Suddenly, at this moment, Morongyu moved. He walked into the crowd with obscure footwork. Then, his body swayed. Following that, Kurlan and the others could no longer see Morongyu. Old Man Pei's eyes flashed. He looked in the direction that Morongyu had disappeared in and seemed to understand something. Morongyu first turned invisible. After turning invisible, he immediately entered the Hichu Luoshu world. Then, he controlled the Hichu Luoshu to turn into an invisible particle and slowly floated above the holy saliva fruit. Morongyu dared to guarantee that he was the only person so close to the holy saliva fruit. At this moment, Morongyu's appetite was greatly stimulated by the rich fragrance of the holy saliva fruit. The nausea that came from the saliva of a sage disappeared. This was because the holy saliva fruit was simply too tempting. In the Hichu Luoshu, Morongyu observed the holy saliva fruit as he conversed with Hichu. Hichu, are you confident that you can keep this holy saliva fruit in the Hichu Luoshu world? This tree is very strange. I'm not confident, Hichu said in a low voice. Then, let's keep the holy saliva fruit first. If possible, let's keep this tree too, Morongyu replied in his mind. Then, he looked at the holy saliva fruit tensely. Only 1/10 of the holy saliva fruit had not turned white. At this moment, the auras of countless experts outside the small hill were constantly exploding, pushing away the weaker experts. It was a critical moment. Swords were drawn and bows were on the verge of breaking out. At this moment, the Hichu Luoshu had already opened up and covered the entire holy saliva fruit. Suddenly, a strange fragrance that was 1,000 times stronger than before was emitted from the holy saliva fruit tree. At this moment, everyone saw that the holy saliva fruit had completely ripened and turned into white fruit. Rumble, at this moment, the terrifying auras of countless experts exploded and soared into the sky. It was as if they could destroy heaven and earth. It was like a raging torrent or a stormy sea. Immediately, countless people dashed toward the saint's saliva fruit. The moment the holy saliva fruit was fully ripe, Morongyu also moved. Seal! Space imprisonment! Space barrier! Morongyu roared in his mind. Suddenly, the entire Hichu Luoshu enveloped the holy saliva fruit. The moment it was enveloped, an extremely terrifying suction force erupted from the Hichu Luoshu and acted on the entire holy saliva fruit. Whoosh! 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 Immediately, the ripened holy saliva fruits flew into the Hichu Luoshu and fell into a jade bottle that had been prepared beforehand. In less than an instant, more than 100 holy saliva fruits had flown into the Hichu Luoshu world. They were all obtained by Morongyu. At this moment, Morongyu was already the biggest winner and could leave this place. However, Morongyu did not leave. Although the holy saliva fruit was a great harvest, Morongyu still wanted to take the holy saliva fruit tree. Therefore, when he took the holy saliva fruit tree, Morongyu controlled the Hichu Luoshu to envelop the holy saliva fruit tree. At the same time, Morongyu used all of his combat skills that had the ability to restrain the holy saliva fruit tree. Whoosh. Originally, the holy saliva fruit tree would automatically leave after all the holy saliva fruits were taken away. However, it was immediately restrained by Morong Yu. At the same time, Morong Yu reached out a large hand, grabbed the holy saliva fruit tree, and pulled it out forcefully. Rustle, the holy saliva fruit tree that no one had been able to leave behind for countless years was now uprooted by Morong Yu. Whoosh! After the holy saliva fruit tree was uprooted, Morong Yu kept it in the Hichu Luoshu world. Then, he directly teleported away from this place. Rumble! It was only after Morong Yu left that the surrounding people finally reacted. In an instant, a terrifying force bombarded the small hill and instantly flattened it. However, there was no trace of Morong Yu. Countless people were stunned when they saw this scene. Who was this person? How could he snatch food from the tiger's mouth in front of countless experts and then leave so casually? He did not even expose himself? What disgusted them the most was that the other party's speed was simply too fast. It was so fast that the surrounding experts could not react in time. By the time they reacted, the person had already disappeared. How similar is this to the scene of the Poison Dragon King's corpse being taken away from the toxic continent? Suddenly, someone exclaimed, as if recalling the scene of the Poison Dragon King being taken away from the toxic continent. That time, it was almost exactly the same as the current scene. Could it be that it was done by the same person? Who was this person? How could he be so terrifying? His ability to conceal himself was even more terrifying. If this person was a killer, an assassin, then it would be incredible. Although there were many experts in the realm of the gods, who could guarantee that they could block this person's assassination. For a moment there were people who were angry and people who were disappointed. There were also people who were gloating. What's going on? What happened? At this moment, Morong Yu walked over to Fan Tong and the rest and asked in confusion. Old Man Pei looked deeply at Morong Yu and said meaningfully. Morong Yu's heart skipped a beat. This old man couldn't have discovered something, right? Other than Old Man Pei, Fan Tong also seemed to have thought of something and looked deeply at Morong Yu, but did not say anything. He knew that someone would continue to speak. As expected, seeing that Morong Yu had returned, Kurlan could not wait to describe the scene just now with a face full of excitement. It was as if the person who snatched the holy saliva fruit was him. I see. Morong Yu's face was very cooperative and revealed an extremely shocked expression, as well as a trace of regret. Regretfully, he did not see the scene just now and did not see the expressions of those people just now. Let's return to Tianbao City first. Seeing that the holy saliva fruit had been snatched away, many people had already left. Morong Yu and the rest also turned around. At this moment, in the Hichu Luoshu world, one of Morong Yu's divine consciousnesses transformed into his original body. He was standing in front of an ordinary-looking tree that was about the height of a person and constantly sizing it up. This tree was the holy saliva fruit tree. However, without the holy saliva fruit, Morong Yu felt that this was an extremely ordinary tree no matter how he looked at it. Because it was indeed so, he did not find anything strange about it. However, when Morong Yu calmed down, he sensed a mysterious aura coming from the tree. It was as if he had gained some sort of enlightenment. Hichu, this tree won't escape here, right? Morong Yu asked Hichu, who was beside him. Once it enters the Hichu Luoshu world, it will definitely not be able to leave. From now on, it can only obediently stay in the Hichu Luoshu world. However, young master, you've picked up a treasure this time. Hichu's face revealed a satisfied smile. Are you referring to this tree? Morong Yu pointed at the holy saliva fruit tree and asked. Hichu nodded slightly and said, This tree is definitely not as simple as being nurtured by the sage's saliva. It has some of the sage's insights. If you cultivate under this tree, not only can you achieve twice the results with half the effort, you can also comprehend the sage's insights in advance. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.